Tes tes tes. Tes mic 1 2 3 1 2 3. Oke. Hello guys, welcome back with me, Fedelish, your online friend. So hari ini kita bakal main game klik yang dimana saya sudah cukup tertarik dengan game ini dari agak lama. Tapi baru kali ini kita mainin ya. Jadi judulnya itu The Song of Saya, atau bahasa Jepangnya tuh Saya no Uta. Full screen, sabar ya. Hey, kok resonya aneh? Kok 1920 1440? Jancok, reso apa ini? Kok 1440? Mic-nya deketin lagi. Kenapa mic? Halo Pet, halo Ramdan, welcome to the stream. Kira nih game mainnya di malam Jumat loh. Ini bukan horror, Pak. Ini game klik. Sabar coba. Welcome to the stream ya, Takoya ya. Ini game klik kok. Bukan game horror ini. Tahun baruan mana Pet? Wah, enggak tahu. Kepo gak? Gor gak masuk horror. Beda. Ini game romance, Cok. Ya gak sih? Game klik ini, game klik romance ini. Ya gak sih? Kita langsung start aja. This story is a work of fiction. The procedure and condition described herein and imaginary bla 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 bla. Sudah dihilangkan. This work of fiction bla 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 grotesque image. Ayo, buat kalian yang tidak suka gore gitu, monggo boleh cabut dulu ya kan. Tahun baruan ke rumah pacar ya kan kamu Fed? Nggak punya pacar aku. Do not modify graphic. Obscure bla bla bla, lower brightness. Oke. Do not modify. Jangan modify. Oke. Oke. Di awal kita sudah disuguhin seperti begini ya. Lower dong, lower. Maksudnya? Oh, suara gamenya kekencangan ya? tes. Oh, suara gue lebih tinggi barnya. Sebentar. Tes. Nah, segini cukup lah ya. Trees such creatures. It's by the way, welcome to the stream ya Elan ya. Baru mulai udah sangat gore bagi telinga. Sip. Oke. The table in front of me slurping filthy sludge from their cups as they trade wine, scroll, and sound that I cannot describe. Okay. By listening carefully, I'm able to grasp the gist of their conversation and respond when it is required of me. This is necessary to avoid arousing their suspicion. However, this creature looked, they're my friend, apparently. I wish that I could still deny it, but I gave up on that a long time ago. Kenapa nih? Night after night, I went to sleep praying for an end to this nightmare. Oh, ini mimpi dia berarti. Only to wake each morning to the same twist hellscape as the day before. I know now that I have to blend it, that I have to act like one of them. Ini masih human sih dia sih. Kalau yang tadi kan kayak nggak ada humannya. Such has been my life this past 3 months. Oh, udah 3 bulan. And it will remain until the day I die. Okay. Judging by its tone, this one must be Koji. Wow, dia udah memberi nama ya. Dia udah memberi nama gitu. Ada Koji, ada Omi gitu ya di sini ya. The one next to him squealing more than the other is probably Omi. Which mean, jadi dia bedainnya bukan dari looks lagi, dari suara. Karena looksnya tidak terlihat lagi di sini ya. Oke. Ada Yoh di sini katanya. Though I can no longer see any trace of her once attractive feature. I try my best to ignore the rotten udah busuk ya. stench of excrement that issue her. Sumpah ini bahasa. How probably brother. Okay. Everything has changed. Aja udah kayak lagu ini ya. Everything has changed. Or almost everything. By some cruel trick of fate, my relationship to the world alone remains the same. As if an insane architect took the blueprint of my life and rebuilt it out of blood and gore. This monster and I were part of the same college club. Oh, okay. Dia satu club. We studied together, ate together, we even went skiing together every winter break. Oh, kayaknya ini teman sekelasnya jadi ini ya, jadi monster ya. Cuman dia doang yang looksnya belum berubah. Now, these are but painful memory of days that will never return. Only no one recognized me. I might have been able to disconnect myself from the world. Hah? Disconnect? Kok ada login disconnect-nya gitu kan? Ada connect disconnect-nya. Apa ini? It would have been comforting in comparison to believe that I had been abducted by aliens or that I had stumbled through a gateway to hell. But no, this is beyond adopt to the city. Adopt the city where nitip eksistensi. Oke Vigo, welcome to the stream. Thank you udah mampir. I was born and raised the society that I was part of for 20 years. Save that I and I alone can no longer see it that way. The world as I knew it is gone. I have no place to call home. Okay. Anyway, I can tell that whatever they're discussing is of no importance to me. I decided to keep quiet while pretending to listen. But just then, hey, Fuminori, one of the flash beasts, says as it swivels its bloodshot eye toward me. What do you think? Nanya capitalnya udah agak ngaco nih. Berarti nadanya itu kayak gimana? About what? I try desperately to suppress my loathing and behave normally, but my hoarse voice ruins the attempt. We're talking about this year's sky trip we are coming to, right? A slimy hole near the top of the creature reads nauseatingly as it vomits some semblance of word that must be Koji's face, or what I would have seen as such 3 months ago. Unable to stomach the sight of it, I avert my eyes and give a neutral answer. I don't know. You have other plans? Not really. These were my closest companion. One of them had even wished to be more. How many nights have I spent crying in loneliness, lamenting the friend who no longer exists. Jadi teman-temannya kita asumsikan udah berubah jadi monster gitu ya. Selama 3 bulan ini dia udah terkurung kayak di ruang kelas yang kayaknya di dalam organ tubuh ya kayaknya. Dan teman-temannya tuh jadi monster yang kayak I don't know, tumor. In 3 months my tears ran dry and now there is only loathing left in me. Surrounded by hideous creatures that I can only assume are mana bang romansnya belum? Koji, Omi, and Yo. I spend each day trying to act as I always have. If I fail at this, I'll surely be sent back to the hospital. Huh? At the hospital? Only this time, I'll be locked away forever. Only this time, I'll be locked forever. No matter what, I won't let that happen. I mean, it's not like physical activity could affect your injuries, right? I'm not sure. I'll ask the doctor during my checkup. That's it. I can't look at them or bear their screeching any longer. I jump to my feet, desperate to escape. Hey, Fuminori! A spray of stringy stringy slime from the cilia around its voice box flies at me. I try to cover myself, but too late to keep the slime from splattering across my face, like the yolk of a rotten egg. I'm about to lose it. I want to grab a chair, a gas, anything within reach, and use it to smash the life out of this creature, ending it all. I barely suppress the impulse. I mustn't let on that something is wrong. However, they look to me. This is their world. I'm the outsider here. Iya, the outsider sih. Dia masih human soalnya. Like I said, today's my checkup. I have to go. I've got to go. Struggling to put on a smile, I reach into my wallet, pull out the first bill I find, and put it on the table without even looking at it. I don't care about the change. I just need to get out of here. Now. Tapi tujuan dia apa? Bayar di meja sekolah. Later, I'm nearer hostile and flee the cafeteria. Hah? Kok cafeteria? Ini cafeteria di mananya, coy? Ini bukannya ruang kelas. Oh, apa ini cafeteria? Hah? I'm not crazy. Dari kalimat ini kita bisa mengasumsikan tokoh utamanya gila aja. Sebenarnya masih dunia biasa gitu. Sampai minum ya?
今度のスキーだけどさ、今年はどっかスケートも遊べるところにしない？
Kelas masa satu meja 4 kursi, lagi kerja kelompok tarik meja. Masa kamu nggak pernah tarik meja di kelas? Hey, says Takahata Omi, why don't we go somewhere we can skate for this year's sky trip? Ski trip. Tsukubayo frowns at the suggestion. Skate? But why go to a ski resort to skate? Bukan 4 kursi lagi bang, lawan kursi. Oh lawan kursi, aku gak begitu lihat sih. Hahaha, give her a break, Tsukuba. It's all she talks about this day. Tono Koji, Super Omi. Ini teman-teman yang tadi dia sebut-sebut ini masih human nih di sini nih. With a laugh, her impromptu suggestions are nothing new, and it's Koji's role as her boyfriend to provide backup. They are a good match for each other, he thinks. Sometimes it makes her jealous. I mean, she was seriously never gone skating before I took her the other day. Hey, is it really strange? Is it really that strange? Not many people start skating in their 20s, you know? Oh, salahkah memulai skating di itu? Jadi kayak hal yang gak wajar, soalnya dia bilang gak banyak gitu. I was scared when I was little. Those shoes look like big knife. But you pick it up just like that. That's pretty amazing, Omi. It's a lot like skiing. You keep your weight forward and use the ankle of the shoes to steer. He made it sound so easy. I figure I should give it a try and it was fun. Ah ini yang tadi gak sih? Ini meja yang tadi gak sih? Meja yang tadi yang muncul kayak tumor-tumor daging itu. So it was a date. You feel a stab of envy. Oh, stab of envy. Okay. Koji and Omi enjoy their time together as normal lovers do. That's certainly not something that should make her jealous. It's just that her luck in love has been bad. Gak hoki dia. Oh, wow. I want to see Omi skate too. Yo keeps her voice upbeat, trying to cover up her disquiet. She knows that it's wrong to envy her friend. She too will be spending time with the man she admires, if not for the terrible tragedy that befell him. His is true misfortune. Her bad luck doesn't begin to compare. Wah, ini siapa nih? Laki-lakinya siapa nih?
ついでにスケート旅
So
行に
how
しちゃえ
about
ば
it? If we
2
make
倍美味し
the
く楽
next
しい
ski
ってわ
trip
けよ。
a skating trip too, it will be twice as fun. Oke, dia mau ski sama skating at the same time.
でもさ、
But
ス
you
ケ
can
ート
skate
はス
at
ケート
a
リンクに
skating
行けば
rink,
できる
can't
じゃな
you?
い。
Why go
わ
all
ざ
the
わ
way
ざ
to
スキー
ski
場に行ってま
resort?
で。だから
I
屋
don't
内
want
じ
to
ゃなく
skate
てさ、
indoors. I
屋
want to
外スケ
skate
ート、
outside on
凍
a
った
lake
湖と
or
かで滑れる
something.
ところ。そんな
That
都合
sounds
のいい
fun,
とこ
but won't it
あ
be
るか
crowded?
な。
Iya sih, rame ya pasti.
なんだかすっごく混んでそう。
While speaking, Yo sneaks a sideway glance at the young man sitting next to her. Although the conversation has involved only 3 people so far, there are in fact 2 couples at the cafeteria table. Yo's boyfriend, though there's still some doubt over whether he could be called that, is beside her, as silent and expressionless as a statue. Okay, patung.
なあ、文則。
Hey, Fuminori,
お前はどう思う？
what do you think? Perhaps Koji sends Yo's pen, in his usual quiet and considerate way. Ah, ini.
どう
Tunggu, tunggu.
って。
About what? Of the cause of Yo's distress, Saka Fuminori respond to Koji's sudden query with a vague, mumble question of his own. Kita
Ya,
tokoh utamanya
da
gitu
kara
kan
sa.
harusnya kan.
今年の冬のスキーだよ。
We're talking about this
お前も
winter ski trip.
行くよな。
You're coming too, right? Ah iya, dia kayaknya gila deh. Pertanyaan dia sama ini. Ini kayak tadi kayak POV-nya si tokoh utama sama ini yang kalian nggak di POV siapapun gitu. Bang, please sebut namaku agar aku seneng. Nggak mau. Pada welcome to the stream ya. Nggak mau aku sebut namanya. Koji speak gingerly as though probing a tumor. Ya kan? Kayak tumor tadi yang di vision dia itu di POV-nya. A few months ago, he would not have hesitated to rebuke Fuminori for his attitude. Their long acquaintance had forged a strong and honest friendship. But now... Hi Ellen. Hi Ellen.
わからない。
Bang, udah bang. Kenapa? Kenapa? I don't know. Fuminori respond bluntly. His downcast eye and sullen demeanor, Demioner, ya benar. Wah, aku disebut iya dong. Kan Ellen kesayanganku. Canda ya. Making it clear that he has no desire to break his silence.
何か他の予定でもある
You
の？
have plans. Ya kan ini
Iya,
questionnya sama ya, Jo. Berarti emang si tokoh utamanya aja yang crazy gak sih? Not really. Even Koji, Fuminori's best friend, cannot communicate with him as before. What hope does Yo have of breaking through his shell? The scars left by the event of that late summer day are still deep all these months later. Each one of the four bears them. Not only Fuminori.
なあ、
Wow.
別に運動するのが傷に触るとか
I
そういうわけでもないんだろ？
It's not like physical activity could affect your injuries, right?
どうだろうな。
Not sure. I'll
今
ask
日
the
の診療
doctor
で
during
先生
my
に聞いてみ
checkup.
る。
As though that answer drained the last of his patient, Fuminori bolts out of his chair.
おい、文則。
Hey, Fuminori! Even Koji can't keep his voice from rising as he tries to stop Fuminori from leaving. Fuminori reacts swiftly, throwing his hand over his face as though to shield himself from something terrifying. Oh, apa tuh? Waduh, thank you ya Ellen ya 2 kopinya. Aku iya sih hari ini udah minum 2 kopi. Maybe some spit flew in advertently from Koji's mouth, but that happens sometimes. Fuminori's reaction is beyond the pale.
だから今
Like
日
I
の診
said,
療なんだ。
Fuminori snaps,
もう時
making
間だ
no
から。
time to relieve the discomfort of his friend. Today's my checkup. I have to go. Oh, kayaknya ini deh. Kayaknya ya, asumsiku ya niat aku ya. Yang tadi yang kayak bla 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 yang di awal-awal itu, orang yang dia nggak begitu kenal. Jadi conversationnya nggak begitu diterima sama tokoh utamanya. Dia tuh kayak dibilang gila nggak juga sih, maksudnya kayak apa ya? Ya pokoknya dia orangnya introvert yang aneh, dah gitu mungkin ya. Kita asumsikannya gitu. Yang nggak kenal, iya makanya. Terus kan makanya tadi kan conversationnya ada yang sama persis dan itu temen dekatnya sampai si narasinya itu bilang temen yang terdekatnya aja nggak bisa mengendalikan dia gitu, maksudnya nggak bisa ngajak ngobrol atau apa. Even as he tosses money on the table. Iya ini sama kan, cuman beda POV doang. Tadinya POV tokoh utama, sekarang secara ya udah kau secara dari spektator aja. He acts like he's touching something
それ
filthy.
じゃ
Later, Fuminori stalked out the cafeteria almost as if he's running away. Cloaked in heavy silence, the remaining three lowered their gaze to the table, where the abandoned 10,000 yen bills sway. 10,000 yen bill? Lu makan apa di cafe? $10.000? $10.000, 10.000 yen. 10.000 yen itu kan 1 juta ya? 10.000 yen ini. Kau di cafe 1 juta. Fuminori's coffee is untouched.
やってられないわね。
Cloaked in heavy silence, the remaining three lowered their gaze to the table, where the abandoned 10,000 yen bills sway forlornly. Fuminori's coffee is untouched. Kau ke tempat kopi, kafe kopi gitu kan, makan kue kopi semahal-mahalnya nggak 1 juta gak sih? I can't take this anymore, Omi says with a sigh, but Koji shake his head reproachfully.
海苔には
Fuminori just need a little
もう
more
少し
time.
時間が必要なんだと思う。
Iya, dia kayaknya ada suatu kejadian deh.
だってもう
But
3
it's
ヶ
been
月
3
よ。
months. Iya
何なの
nih.
よあれ。付き合ってるこっちが変になりそうよ。
Berarti inti sari ceritanya di 3 bulan lalu ini, apa yang membuat dia sampai ada di psyche dia tuh ada tumor-tumor itu. I feel like I'm going crazy hanging around him.
俺だってわからない。
Hey, I don't understand what
わかるは
he's
ずもないと
going
思う。
through either. I don't think any of us can.
お前だって想像つ
Can
く
you
か。
imagine losing
あん
your
なひどい
whole
形で
family
家
like
族
that?
全員を奪われて
Oh.
平気でいられるわけないよ。
That will screw anyone up. Berarti dia habis kehilangan seluruh keluarga dengan tragedi yang ini. Kayak like that. Like that-nya itu mungkin pasti sesuatu yang kejam ya. Yang tragis lah. It could have happened to anyone. A trailer flipped over on the highway, crushing the Sakisaka family car into twist scrap. They said it had been difficult to tell the bodies of Fuminori's parents apart. Jadi bubur ya? Okay. For a while, it had looked as if there was no hope for Fuminori's either. It was nothing short of a miracle that he was able to leave the hospital and return to a normal life. Enggak, ini kena otaknya ini. Dia psyche dia udah rusak tadi POV dia.
見舞いに行った時なんてもっとひどかった
He
じゃない
was
か。
worse when we went to see him in the
誰が誰だか分からず
hospital.
に
Remember?
怯えて暴れて
He was terrified
ベ
of
ッドに
us.
縛り付けられて
Like he didn't know who we were. He even had to be tied to the bed. He freaked out so bad.
今はよくあそこまで
I'm
立
just
ち直って
glad
くれた
he's
と思う。
made it this far.
それにしたって変よ先坂君。
There's still something strange
私
about
たち
him.
のこと見る目つき。
What's with
あ
the
れなんだ
way
ね
he look at us?
まるで
It's
こっ
like
ち
we
が
are
人
not
間じゃ
even
ないみた
human.
い。
Iya, nggak kelihatan human.
よせオミ
Cut it out, Omi. Oh, tapi benar sih. Game ini perlu ngasih kita lihat POV si tokoh utama supaya teks ini kita masuk gitu. Emang dia ngelihatnya nggak sebagai human kan teman-temannya itu. Koji says forcefully, probably less out of empathy for his friend than out of consideration for Yo. While Koji's kindness make her happy, Yo also know that she mustn't take advantage of it. Fuminori is the victim, just as Koji said, he is the one who most deserves sympathy. Yo's feeling for Fuminori are her problem, and no one else. She doesn't blame Fuminori for not giving her an answer after she worked up the courage to ask him out. In fact, she thinks even more fondly of him for taking the time to consider than she would have had he treated their relationship casually. Apparently, the fact that Fuminori did not reject her was enough to make them a couple in Koji and Omi's eyes. They've had plenty of fun at Yo and Fuminori's expense since. The truth of it, though, is that he still hasn't given her an answer. After revealing her feelings to him, Yo didn't see Fuminori again until a week later, and then she could only stare at his broken body through the window of the ICU. Okay. And when he was finally released, after 50 days that seemed an eternity, he was somehow different. She's starting to doubt that he even remembered what she confessed to him before the accident. Bete juga ya jadi perempuan ya. Now, winter is coming and her feeling hang forgotten in the cold, lonely air. Bete gak sih kayak gitu? Ah ini scan otaknya nih kayaknya. CT scan nih kayaknya nih. Dr. Tanbo Ryoko has never had a more troublesome patient.
その後の経過はどうですか、咲坂さん。
Any change since your last visit?
いいえ、別だ。
No, nothing to
これ
speak
といって
of.
問題もなく。
His voice is hard and flat. His word tossed carelessly into the air. It's like he's speaking to himself in an empty room. Ryoko is a surgeon, not a psychiatrist. But even she can sense the thickness of the wall he has erected between himself and the world. Okay.
吐き気やめまい、
Any
幻聴や幻
nausea,
覚といった体験は
dizziness, or hallucination?
いいえ、何も。
No. While Sakisaka appears to be looking at Ryoko, his gaze is actually aimed a fraction down and to the side. He is only superficially engaged in the conversation, when in truth, it does not interest him in the slightest. Perfect rejection. Realizing that she can't interview him like this, Ryoko sighed and set her chart aside.
咲坂さん、
Mr. Sakisaka, the procedure you receive at this hospital
脳
was the
神経
latest
医
in
学の分野では
experimental
世界的に最先端の治療でした。
neurosurgery.
そのことはご存知ですよね。
Sarafno. We explained this before, didn't we? Treatment of subdural hematoma through the use of micro machine, a procedure available in Japan, exclusive here at T University, had been the only way to save Sakisaka Fuminori from a cerebral contusion that should have been fatal.
最先端であるというこ
With
とは
an experimental
まだまだ
treatment,
データの出
there's
揃って
always
い
the
ない
risk of
危険性
unexpected
の伴う治療法だったという意味でもあります。
complication.
そうでしょうね。
Of course. Sakisaka Fuminori's lip twists slightly in what might be a bitter or mocking smile, but it is gone before Ryoko can discern its meaning.
普通こんなことを言って脅かす
I
の
will
は
never
医者と
say
して問題
something
なん
to
ですが、
frighten a patient,
施術後に重大な脳
but
障害を
there
きたした
have
ケー
been
スも報
reports
告さ
of
れているんで
serious
す。
neurological
予後の
disorder
経過には十分に注
post-surgery.
意しなければなりません。
Emang harusnya ada sih, kan neurological disorder, jadi ada ketidaknormalan. Disorder itu kayak ketidaknormalan dari sarafnya. We must continue to monitor your condition carefully. Hence this weekly checkup, if only he will take them a little more seriously.
先週の MRI はどうでし
How
た？
was the last week MRI? Sakisaka asked abruptly, as if to catch Ryoko off guard. MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, is a way for a doctor to examine the brain in detail without opening the patient's skull. Surprised by Sakisaka's uncommon technical knowledge, Ryoko recalled his profile.
そういえばあ
Oh,
なたも
that's right.
医
You're
者
a
の
medical
卵だったよ
student,
ね
aren't you?
先生が心配しているような
The
脳機
kind
能
of
不全は
anomaly you're worried
画像診断だけ
about
でも
should
十分に
show
わかるは
up
ずです
on
よ
the
ね。
MRI, right? Did you find
何か異
anything?
常
いいえ
No. Yan? Bukan otaknya dah. Tapi MRI kan scan CT scan otak dah. There was nothing, not the slightest hint of abnormal activity for a procedure with such a low rate of success. The result have been nothing short of miraculous. However, something still bothers Ryoko. She can't shake the feeling that he's hiding something beneath his guard exterior. Some terrible weight on his soul, perhaps. But if it's an inorganic problem, then there's nothing she can do as long as she refuses to explain it.
大丈夫ですよ先生。
I'm fine. I've been
現
on
に僕
my own
は
for 3 months
今
without
こう
any
して病院
problem.
の外でも何
What
不自由
could
なく
go
生
wrong
活していま
now?
す。問題なんて
ねえ咲坂さん
Please,
こうい
you
った
know
難
that
しい手術
continuous
は予後不断の原
observation
則なんで
is
す
required after
もう
after
少し
this
私たちを
difficult
信用してもらえ
surgeries.
ませんと
You have to trust us a little more.
そうですよね。
I suppose you're right. I do
僕
want
だっ
to
て先
trust
生
you,
方を信
doctor.
用したい。
Can I come to you
どんな相談にも
with
乗ってもら
anything?
ええもちろん
Yes, of course. Ryoko, Rokyo mulu ya. Ryoko answers, smiling to cover up her irritation. Sakisaka asked exactly the same question during last week's visit.
じゃあ先週の話の続き
Well
なんです
then,
が、
let's pick up where we left off.
あ
Have
れ
you
から
learned
大貝
anything
教授に
about
ついては
Dr.
何か分かり
Ogai?
ましたか？
Wah, ini Dr. Ogai siapa lagi nih? Oh, kenapa deh? Unable to answer, Ryoko hardened the mask of her smile. As before, the patient is inquiring about someone whom he has no business knowing.
大貝教授のことはそのあな
If
た
you
の治
don't
療と
mind
は
my
何の関
asking,
係もないでしょ
what does Dr. Ogai have to do with your treatment?
信頼しろと言った矢先にいきなり隠し事ですか？
You just told me to trust you, and now you are keeping secret. Ryoko is used to patient treating her with hostility. Some degree of paranoia is natural when dealing with a person whose mistake could kill you. In Sakisaka, however, she doesn't see the anxiety that other patients exhibit. His demeanor is perfectly calm, almost like a detective questioning a suspect.
何分だいぶ前にここを辞められた方ですからね
He left this
私個人と
hospital
しても
some time
交流
ago.
があったわけではない
Oh,
し
udah nggak ngerus lagi deh dokternya. I never had any contact with him myself.
辞めた理由はご存知ない。
Do you know why he left? Kenapa nih? Yes, I
おそら
believe
く
it
個
was
人的な事
personal.
情でしょうね
Ryoko answers smoothly, her earlier hesitation gone. Having decided at the outset to lie, she has no trouble doing so with a straight face.
それにしても咲坂さんなぜあなたはそんなに大貝教授にこだわるん
But
です
why do you keep asking about
お知り合い
Dr.
ですか？
Ogai? Are you acquainted?
教授は今失踪中なんです。知ってましたか？
Did you know that the doctor has gone
い
missing?
いえ
No. Ryoko realized that her answer may have been a little too quick. She should have acted more
近
surprised.
頃教授の身内の人間
I've
と恋
recently
にしていま
become
したね。
close with a
そ
relative
の
of
人から
his.
調査を
It
頼まれて
was
いるんです。
she who asked me to find him. A relative. Ryoko considered this with a frown.
大貝教授に縁者の方はおられな
I
いはず
didn't
ですが
think Dr. Ogai had any
お
relative.
お、誰から聞きました？
Who told you that?
それは
I
噂
heard it
話。
from nurse. Ryoko replies, remembering that she just claimed to have had no contact with the
な
man.
るほど。そんなことが噂になる程度
I
には
see.
大貝教
The
授は有名
doctor
人だ
was
ったわけ
famous
ですね。
enough to have nurses gossiping about him.
まあ一風変わった人だったみたいですね
I hear he was an unusual man,
なのに
but no
誰
one
も彼が
knows
大
why
学を
he
辞めた
left
理由
the
を知らない
university. Ryoko falls silent, knowing that this isn't a topic she can brush away with a smile. Sakisaka seems to have finally grasped her mood. However, as his strangely stiff tone softens a little.
先生、
Tulis.
僕はどうして
I
も
have
大
to
貝教授
find
に会う
Dr.
彼がいなくな
Ogai.
ったせいで、
There is a
いくら
girl
手がなく
who
なり
needs
困っ
it.
ている子がいるんです。
Can't you help me?
それはむしろ警察の領分なんじゃないかしら。
Isn't this something the police should handle? Although she makes it sound like the most obvious thing in the world, the suggestion is actually a gamble. If Ogai Masahiko's disappearance becomes a police matter, then the university will be investigated. Everyone who has involved in the incident will be at risk of exposure. And of course, that includes Ryoko herself. She knows, however, that Sakisaka is unlikely to go to the police. First of all, his excuse is obviously a lie. They already made sure that Ogai had no relative who might come looking for him, which is why they could bury the truth of what happened. But then, how did Sakisaka, a mere patient, learn about Ogai? Ogai ini siapa problemnya gitu? Belum
Sakisaka-san.
dikasih tahu ini.
私の知っている範囲のこと
I
は
will be
喜んでお教えします。
But there's
ですが、
been no word
大
from
貝教
Dr.
授は
Ogai
今年の4月に
since
辞
he
表を出して、
resigned
ど
last
こか
April.
長期の旅
I
行
can
にで
only
も行かれた
assume
か。
that he's gone on
その
an
程度しか
extended
想像つ
vacation.
そうですか。
I see. Expecting resistance, Ryoko is surprised when Sakisaka's back down. She's still worried about his condition, and the mysterious link between him and Ogai is only making her more uneasy. But as long as he doesn't open up to her, there's nothing she can do. After a brief pause, Ryoko writes progress good on Sakisaka's chart for today.
崎坂さん、それでは来週の診察ですが、
About
今日と
next
同じ
week
4時でも
appointment, how does 4 o'clock against before she can finish, Sakisaka is gone. Cabut dia. It looks like someone sprayed the wall with big guts from ceiling to the floor. What color should the wall of a hospital be? White, of course. And to the creature of rotten flesh shambling around me, I'm sure this hallway looks just as white as it should. I know, intellectually, that the walls are white. I know that the flesh beasts are really human. I'm the one with the problem, and it's because I've accepted this that I'm able to lead something approaching a normal life, even if my university medical department is nowhere near as good as the universities. I'm still a medical student specializing in neurology. I have a basic idea of what has happened to me, though it's hard to believe. Neurology itu ilmu otak ya. Neuro itu seingatku sini sih artinya saraf sih. This isn't a pathological condition. It's probably some form of agnosia, unlike anything that has ever been studied before. The flash beast called Tanbo Ryoko said that other patient had developed neurological disorder after receiving the same treatment I did. So I guess I'm just another failure. It makes me want to laugh in that no, it all doctor's face. That said, I don't blame the doctor who operate on me. After all, I do owe them my life. I know as well as anyone how low the change of success was, and that I had no other hope of survival. I was unlucky. That's all there is to it. The point is that my condition isn't treatable. Jadi dia selamanya ini. Just like someone adapting to a hearing aid or wheelchair, I have no choice but to adapt to this now sitting scenery. Mau gak mau ya? Of course it's hard. Pasti. It wasn't easy to resign myself to this fate. But now, there's more than just despair. Even for me, there's a glimmer of hope. Apa nih hope dia? Keeping my eyes on my feet. I hurry home. Apa nih? Hope dia apa nih? I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, in a house that's much too large for me alone. My parents, even unluckier than I was, died in the accident 3 months ago. Klik flamingo. Halo kata anak. Buset, kau belum tidur? Apa kau baru bangun? Jam segini loh. By the way, welcome to the stream ya. I couldn't even go to the funeral for being in intensive care. Insomma ko. Oh, I see. Loh. Minum ini kalau insom. Padahal lagu insom juga. Gak tahu juga sih. Ya sudah, nonton stream gue. Nanti tidur sendiri kau. I had to sell my father's business. Wow, gak diurus. Dia memilih jual ya. But at least that left me with the house and enough money to live on for a while. Bisnisnya di-sell namanya, gak dilanjutin. Of course, I'm sad. But the accident took more from me than my parents. In fact, being on my own has probably saved me. If they were still alive, my parents would never have allowed me to live with some strange girl. Oh, dia tinggal sama gadis aneh nih.
Okaeri.
Welcome home. As I opened the door, a bright voice greeted me from the kitchen. The voice is beautiful and clear as a bell. Human. Its sweet sound washes the day's cacophony from my
ただいま
memory.
さや
I'm home, saya. Oh, ini sayanya nih, si saya no utanya ini. Even the patter of feet coming down the hallway is music to my ears. Nowhere else in the city can I hear such footsteps. Only in this house with Saya I so privileged.
遅かったね。
You're late.
ちょっと
I
心
was a
配しちゃ
little
ったぞ。
worried.
ごめんよ
Sorry,
今日は
I had to
病
stop
院に寄
by
って
the
いく日だった
hospital today.
あー、そうだっけ。
Oh, that was today. In her smile, in the inquisitive tilt of her hat, is everything that I have lost. Since my accident, this girl is the only person I've met. Perhaps the only person in the entire world who does not trigger my cognitive disorder. True. Her skin seems too white, and the color of her eyes and hair is probably different in reality. But even so, her form is undeniably human. And it's not just her appearance and her voice either. As I bend down to take off my shoes, Saya wrapped her arm around my neck and pulled me gently into her chest. Her skin feels truly human, not cold or slimy, and from her hair wafts as a sweet feminine fragrance. In all the world, only Saya is pleasing to my five senses. Oh iya, dia kayak udah nggak ini ya. Soalnya ngeliat temennya juga slimy gitu kan. And what's more, she smiled at me, embraced me. She know that she is my salvation, and for some reason is happy that I need her. If I had not met Saya, if I had been all alone in this twist-filled ridden world, I would no doubt have succumbed to madness. It is no exaggeration to say that Saya alone is keeping me alive.
今日は一日どうしてた
What did you do today? Click pink. Hello Koheri, welcome to the stream.
今の模様替
Work
え。もう
on the
半分
living
ぐらい
room.
塗り終わったよ。
The painting's half
で、
done.
今はね、
And now I'm
海の日
making
の晩ご飯
your
作ってるの。
dinner like I learned from the
昼間
TV.
そうか
Sounds good.
楽しみだな
もうちょっと時間か
It
かり
will
そうな
take a
の。
little longer.
待っててくれる？
Can you wait?
いいよ
Sure.
じゃ
I'll do some
あ
work
僕は
in the
今の
living
続きを
room.
やってる
After I see the humming Saya off to the kitchen, I step into the living room. Living roomnya setengah ya? Setengah yang tumurannya. Klik yo, access B, welcome to the stream. I realized one day that if the natural color of the world were sickening, all I had to do was paint over them with color that seemed pleasing. Oh, dicat sama dia supaya nggak muncul si gambar daging-dagingnya ini. Apa ini tiba-tiba tumor? I went to the hardware store and bought every color of paint I could find. Then Saya and I tried different combinations until we found one that worked. After painting the bedroom from the ceiling to floor, I was finally able to get my first good night's sleep since the accident. When we first started on the living room, Saya, unsure what to do with the curtain, just painted carefully around the window without a moment hesitation. I tore the curtain down and painted over the glass itself. Anjir, sampai kaca-kacanya dicat. There will never be anything out there that I would want to see, and as long as we keep the store shutter closed, the neighbor probably won't think anything of it.
ご飯できたよ。
Dinner's
こっ
ready.
ちで食べよう。持ってきてくれるか。
Can you bring it in here? Kamu udah pernah main ini, Kak Tana? Biasa kan kau suka main VN gitu, Kak Tana. As she enters the living room with a tray of food, Saya sniffed the air.
ペンキの匂い。
The paint smell doesn't bother me. Bother you? Now that she mentioned it, I suppose the smell of paint thinner must be building up in this closed room. It doesn't really bother me, though. There are far worse smell outside.
さやは嫌いかい？
Does it bother you?
う
No, I'm fine if you are.
うん。海のりが大丈夫ならいい。
Saya set the food on the table. Unfortunately, neither its color nor its smell is at all appetizing. Not that food elsewhere is any different.
いただきます。
Thanks, Saya. As has become routine, I steel myself and methodically transport the food into my mouth. The taste is as gut-wrenching as I expected, but it's not Saya's fault. I'm sure she made it exactly like the cooking show said. It's just that my taste buds can't accept it.
美味しくない？
It's not good, she asked hesitantly.
うーん。
Well, no. Lying won't make Saya happy. She know about my condition.
気にしないで。
Don't worry about it. I'll make something different
ご
tomorrow.
めんな。いつも。
Sorry, you always go to the trouble of cooking, but I...
いいのよ。こうやっていろい
It's
ろ
fine.
試し
If
てい
I
けば、
keep trying,
いつか
maybe I'll
海のり
find
でも
something you'll
美
like.
味しく食べられるメニュ
In
ー
my
が見
current
つかるか
state,
もしれないじゃ
eating
ない
is nothing more than an unwelcome duty. As much as I hate it, I need food to survive. If I stay alive, then perhaps one day, as Saya says, I'll be able to taste something delicious again. I met Saya, didn't I?
さやは食べないの？
Aren't you going to eat? No,
私はもう
I
済ましたから。
already ate. In all the time we've been together, Saya has never once eaten with me. I don't know why she refused to do so. It makes me a little sad. Still, I'm not about to push the issue, not when she is putting up with all the problem I have.
そういえば、今日もう一度
By the way, I
病
asked
院で
about
君の
your
お父さ
father
んのこと
again.
パパの？
You did? Dr. Ogai Masahiko is Saya's father and her only living relative. Saya has asked me to unravel the mystery of his disappearance.
やっぱり何も教えてくれない。
They still wouldn't tell me
何
anything.
か隠してい
I
る
get
雰
the
囲気なん
feeling
だ。
they're hiding something.
そう。
Oh. I expected Saya to be a little more disappointed.
心配じゃないのかい？
You haven't given
お父さんの
up,
こと
have you?
ううん。
No.
そういう
Saya
わけじゃないの。
responded with unreadable expression. It's not that. She gave a little shake of her head, then smiles at me once again.
ありがとう、海のり。
Thanks for all you are doing for me.
君はそれ以上
It's
のこと
nothing
を
compared to
僕の
what
ため
you've
にし
done
てく
for
れるん
me.
だ。
I thanked her for the meal and set my chopstick down next to the perfectly clean plate. As wretched as the taste was, thinking of the care that Saya put into it gave me the strength to finish every bite.
じゃあ、お風呂にする？
Is it bath time? Nih, kesukaan mo nih tahu ya.
まあ、また背中流してくれるか？
Yeah, will you wash my back again? Sure, ever since I moved in, it's been like having my own wife. Saya, why are you so good to me? Is, is this truly what you want? What am I that you can give yourself to me, body and soul? Is this merely sympathy? Do you pity me, the exile from society? Is that enough for you to surrender yourself to such mad desire? Are you so wanton? Saya is here. She is with me now. Only in this moment is her existence certain. Only when I'm joined with her can I believe. No matter what cruel fate might await me, Saya, there is nothing I fear more than losing you.
みのり
Fuminori, are you crying? I realize that my cheeks are wet with tears.
どうしてなんだサイ
Why, Saya? Why do you go so far from me?
みのり
わからない
Fuminori, I don't
わからな
understand
い
it.
僕だけ
I don't. But I'm
どんど
losing
ん君に
myself
惹かれ
to
てい
you
く
more every day.
君なし
I
じゃ
can't live without
耐え
you,
られなくな
Saya.
っていく
I'll wrap my arms tighter around her, praying that our bodies will melt together and never again be apart.
教えてくれ
Tell me,
どうすれば君を失わずにいられる
what must I do
僕は何をす
to
ればいい
keep you with me?
ど
How
うや
can I
って君
repay
に
you?
報いればいい
こうやって
Keep holding me.
抱いていて
Saya whispered into my chest.
みのりに抱いても
I
らう
want to say
の
like this
大好き
forever.
だから私
I
は
won't leave you, Fuminori.
なぜ
Why?
なぜ僕なんだ
Why me?
それはね
Because you're all alone,
みのりが
she says
一人ぼっ
softly,
ちだから
gazing up into my eyes.
それは
All
さやも
alone,
一人ぼっちだ
just
から
like me. The sorrow in her voice resonates with my own. There is a deep loneliness in her eyes, a loneliness from which now spring boundless affection.
だからさやにも
You're
み
all
の
I
りしか
have
この世でただ一人だけ
in the world. While
私を抱きしめてくれ
in
る
the whole wide world,
大好き
only
な
you will embrace me, my precious Fuminori. Hayo ngapain, hayo ngapain. Now I know, no matter what horrors this world unleash upon me, all I'll ever need is Saya. Okay. Yo is determined to talk to him today. Nothing will happen as long as she hesitates. It will only prolong her suffering. The time has come to show courage once again. Yo's fourth period on Thursday is biology. This is her one chance to see Fuminori. Pada mulai risau ya sama si Fuminori ini. Kok dia aneh gitu kan. Ini si saya ini kok tiba-tiba nge-spawn gitu. As a required course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat well over 200. But since the room is usually only half full, it is rarely difficult for Yo to find the seat she wants. Yo preferred to sit near the center where it is easier to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason. Fuminori usually sit beside her, although given the ambiguous state of their relationship, she knows better than to take this for granted. Still, she tries to save a seat whenever possible. The classroom isn't crowded today, so Yo is able to set her back on the seat next to her without inconveniencing anyone. But when the professor arrived at the usual time to start class, there is still no sign of Fuminori. Bagus banget game ini, mainnya kayak tekan slide PPT yang dikasih gambar anime, betul. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yo scanned the room furtively. Fuminori is there, sitting alone in the far back corner. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have. And besides, no serious student will willingly sit so far away from the front. Feeling miserable, Yo slid her back over to herself. Fuminori is out the door the moment class ends. Yo, barely managed to catch up to him before he disappeared down the hallway.
咲坂さん
Fuminori jerked at the sound of his name. You would think she just screamed at him.
何か
What? He turned to her and asked reluctantly. Now that they are face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eye and protruding cheekbones are a far cry from the feature familiar to her. She wonders whether he's under a lot of stress or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He definitely looks more tense than he should, afraid, even though of what she can't imagine. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and he refused to look Yo in the eye. It hurts to see Fuminori this way. What could have changed him so? Today, she reminded herself, rekindling the flame of courage in her heart.
あの
I want to talk to
お話があるん
you
です。
about something. Do you have some time?
ちょっといいですか
The courtyard is empty and silent. No one is willing to sit and chat in the cold November air. Oh, dingin ya di sana.
話って何
So, what is it? Don't you remember? You almost blurred the question but managed to keep her composure.
咲坂さん最近ちょっと様子が変です
You've been acting strangely lately.
Mitete.
I'm worried about you, ya kan? Mereka
心
mulai
配
udah
になります
ini orang kenapa sih gitu kan?
そうかもね
Well,
ま
a lot's
ああんなのにあ
happened.
った後だから
He smiled like it's nothing, but even that seems forced. He's even standing precisely one pace farthest away from her than he used to.
本当にそれだけなんですか
Is that really all?
君にはそれだけじゃないように見
What
える
more
の
do
かい
you want? Yo managed to keep to keep from flinching at the harshness of his tone.
何か我慢してるみたいに
It's like you are struggling with
Miemasu.
something. Rather than answer, Fuminori grind his toe into the dead grass at his feet, fearing that her determination might flag. Yo lets the word come as they may.
どうしようもないものを無
It's
理して
like there's a terrible weight
壊
on
れ
your
そうになるほ
shoulder
ど
and
頑
it's
張っ
slowly
て
breaking
我
you.
慢してる今の咲坂さんは
That's how you look to me.
そうかい
Oh, really? Fuminori muttered through clenched teeth, no longer trying to deny it or change the topic. This is an even clearer signal of rejection than his prior evasiveness. But your determination is strong. Today, at least, she won't back
友
down.
達ってこんな時のためにいる
It's
と思
time
うんで
like
す
this, she implores, trying to convey the sincerity of her feeling for him, that you need your friend.
ご家族のことは
I feel really bad about your parents, but you're not alone. You have Koji and
一人ぼ
Oma,
っちじゃありません
and
私が
you have me. Yo can no longer stop the word pouring from her lips. She fears that if she doesn't unleash her feelings now, they will be lost forever.
一人で背負い込んだりし
I
なくて
think
も
we can help you so you don't have to deal with it all by yourself.
たとえ何もできない
Even
に
we
しても
even if we can't do anything, just talking to us might make you feel better.
私咲坂さんの力になりたいんです
I want to help
他のみ
you.
んなも同じ気
We
持ち
all do. So please
やめてくれ
stop it. Fuminori shot, silencing your entreaty. She promised herself that she wouldn't back down, but Fuminori's expression is terrible enough to shatter her resolve. The look in his eye is not anger or any other warm-blooded emotion. Is it hate? Murderously cold hate.
そういえば君
Come
に
to
は一
think of
つ
it, I never
返
gave
事し
you an
なきゃいけ
answer,
ない
did
要
I?
件があったね
He remembers, and still he has treated her so coldly. Beuh, dingin abis nih orang. Sedingin Thomas Rebel ya. That is all the answer she need. If his word step any deeper, she might very well die.
僕は君のことをとりわけ特
I
別に意
never
識した
saw
こと
you
なんて
in
なか
any
った。
special way before. When
君
you
に
asked
好意
me
を持た
out,
れてもど
I
う接
wasn't
すればいいの
sure
か
how
迷
to
って僕
respond.
が君のことをどう思
I
って
didn't,
るの
I
か。
didn't know how I really
正
felt
直な
about
気持ち
you
が
then.
自分
咲坂さん
Fuminori.
でもね、
But now I can give you an
今では
answer.
もうはっきり
I
と
have
答えが
plenty
出
of
てる。
time to think it
あ
over.
れから考
You
え
know.
筑波さん、
I hate you, Tsukuba. I
僕
don't
はあん
even
た
want
の
to
ことが
look
大
at
嫌い
you.
だ。
Anjir,
顔も見たくない。
anjir, jadi kayak gini orangnya. Don't cry, Yo tell herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes.
もう二度と会いたくない
I
っていうのは
suppose
無理
it's
だ
too
ね。
much to hope. I
同じ
never
学
see
校
you
に通っ
again.
てるんだし。
We do go to the same school.
だからせめて今後
So
は
just
僕に
make
声を
this
かけないでくれない
the
か。
last time you speak to me.
目障りなんだよ。
Okay?
つくづく。
Your voice make me sick. Wow, sakit cok. Dikasih dia dibilangin gitu sama orang yang lu suka gitu. How can you be so cruel? Yo whisper in shock and despair. Which Fuminori twists his lip into a malevolent smile.
君さ、
You
少しは頭を冷や
you're
した
really
方がよかっ
thinking
た。
for yourself once in a while.
どうせ大宮
I
浩二に
bet
けしかけ
it
られて
was
その気になってた
Koji
だけなん
and
だろ。
Omi's idea, wasn't it?
自分一人でのぼせてる分には
Well, you
勝手
can
だけど
play
さ、
at love
他
all you
人を
want.
巻き込むなっていう
Leave
ん
me
だ。
out of it. That's all you can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refused to let him hear her cry. And in disgrace, will be preferable to breaking down here. Click click yo e. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back. Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt them, but still unwilling to leave them alone, she and Koji end up watching the whole thing from the shadow.
あいつ
That asshole. Throughout the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch Fuminori's in the face. Knowing her temper, Koji kept firm hold of her arm until the end. If he hadn't, she might very well have done it. Langsung dijotos ya. Cara dapat Exodian Blue Eyes White Dragon gimana bang? Gak tahu. Fuminori leave after Yo and his first step, seeming to take an act of willpower. Koji sighed heavily into the once more empty courtyard, but the bitter taste in his mouth will not go away.
どうしちまったんだかな。
What's wrong with
あい
him?
つは
Even Koji cannot forgive Fuminori's treatment of Yo. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion, not anger. Koji has known Fuminori since long before college. Fuminori was never this cruel before. Iya, Fuminori ini dikontrol sama sini, Cok, sama saya, Cok. There is no question. Now that the accident changed him,
ねえコージ
are you just
このまま
gonna
放ってお
let
くつ
this
もり
go?
放っておきたく
I
ないんで
don't
す
want
って
to, but
俺
what
たち
can
に
we
何が
do?
できる。
覗き見よりマシなこ
Something
とよ
beside watch. Omi shot, her face red with fury.
私
I won't be
咲坂
satisfied
君に一
until I
言言
gave
って
him
やらなきゃ
a
気が
piece
済
of
まな
my
いわ
mind.
それでつくばの気が晴れるってもんでもないだろうに。
That won't make Tsukuba feel better.
だったら私の
But it will
キーだ
make
け
me
でも
feel
晴らすわ
better.
よ
Yo and Omi are best friends. Just like Koji and Fuminori, in fact, it was the relationship between Koji and Omi that brought the other two together. Omi's anger is only natural.
私
I'm going to
咲坂
talk
君
to
と
him
二人だけ
alone.
で話して
You
み
don't
たいわ
have to come.
本気かよ。
You serious?
その代わり
Take care of Yo
ヨウの
for
こ
me,
とを見てい
will
てあげ
you?
て
She's probably
あの
really
泣
hurt.
き終わった後で誰か
Need
の
someone
優し
to
さ
be
が
nice
必
to
要になる
her
かも
after she's done crying.
なあ、そ
Wait,
れって俺とお前
Shouldn't
の
we
役割
switch
が逆じゃない。
jobs?
私みたいな性格だと
You
ね
know how I am. If
慰め
I
役は
try to
無理
comfort her, I'll
励
end
ます
up
つもりで
making it
余計に
worse.
なるほど。
Yeah, you've got a
納得
point.
いった。
Barbar juga nih, Joy. Emang langsung jatuh saya.
あやな
じゃあまあ、
Hey,
そっちはほどほどにしとけ
anyway,
よな
just。go easy, okay? Ending the conversation before Omi's mood get any worse, Koji's head off to find Yo. Ayo, jotos. Bang, udah bang, belum. I feel awful, miserable, but also refreshed. I finally crossed the line. By the way, welcome to the stream ya, Van ya. Hi. I feel okay. I knew it will come crashing down like this sooner or later, having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people. There was no way I could hope to maintain the relationship I had before the accident. Today's incident will definitely get back to Koji and Omi, and everyone will be convinced I've had a major change of character. Honestly, I don't care anymore. At least, I probably won't be committed for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. If this put a rift between me and the other, good. The thought of all the stress I'll avoid bring a smile to my lips. I'm fed up with them sticking their nose into my life. It's like they don't care that they make my god turn just by being near me. I've been terrified of them until now, but today I struck fear into one of them. In that sense, it's something of a relief. But I'm not entirely without remorse of what happened. The person I just demolished with the verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yaw. Even if my sense don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have any particular grudge against Yaw herself, and I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just ignored her outright. Yo was an attractive girl. I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest, though, I was annoyed when Koji and Omi tried to stick us together. It felt like they were using us as entertainment. And Yo seems totally oblivious to the fact that she was dancing to their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating. Still, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt others just to get my way. If having a casual relationship with y'all would keep our circle of friendship together, I was willing to make that compromise. Now, however, there's no room in my heart for such forbearance. If merely talking to someone is an ordeal, then how can I be expected to show them kindness? Nah. This rumination have left me exhausted. I want to return to saya as soon as possible. Ini dia udah terkontrol sama saya, Jon. Tapi emang bener, mau nggak mau dia. Soalnya yang bisa dia human, yang secara fisik dia bisa lihat human cuman saya, Jon. But thinking about the packed train and crowded the downtown street between here and home sapped my spirit. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horror of the world. I can't do anything about the stink or the noise, but at least I can't calm my nerve enough to rest. Tapi dia kayak totally berada di dunia yang beda ya. Soalnya sampai ke panca inderanya semuanya berefek deh. Bukan di mata doang yang dia bilang kan. Sampai penciuman, pendengaran. Makanya cuman di saya doang yang suaranya tuh seindah lagu gitu kan. Makanya saya no utan. When I regained consciousness in the T University Hospital ward, the world was as dark as it is now. I had not yet recovered my sight, even though my eyes and optical nerve were undamaged. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Cara dapat kartu Charizard gimana bang beli? Blindness was a shock. But now, I know that my suffering then was nothing. After all, my sense of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real horror began when my sight returned. The one small mercy was that I was able to come to terms with the accident and my neurosurgery while still blind. I panicked when I first saw the nightmarish hospital and the blood-curdling shape of the doctor and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened if I had recovered my sight along with my consciousness, suddenly waking in what can only be described as hell. I would no doubt have lost my mind instantly. Benar sih. Soon, my disorder spread to the sense of touch, taste, and smell. As it turned out, sight exerted tremendous influence over the other four. The taste of my food, the feel of my bedsheet, the fragrance of my get well flower, all become as unbearably full as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when even the doctor voices become unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could live in this world, in this new world. Ya, dia kayak di dunia yang beda gitu. At least, not until I met saya. Iya, kok dia tiba-tiba bisa ketemu saya gitu? One night, while thinking of a painless way to die, Fedel biasa ya ikut semangat streamnya oke Kaime. I found myself succumbing to sleep, drifting between the nightmare in my dreams and the nightmare of reality. I didn't notice her enter my room. The next thing I knew, there was a face staring down at me from next to my bed. Oh, tiba-tiba dia nge-spawn gitu ya. The face was not covered in pus or slime or earthworm-like filler. It has smooth white cheek, round eye, a lovely little nose, all things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. Ooh. Whoa, I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. She had not expected such a reaction, apparently.
怖くないの？
Aren't you
私
afraid
の
of
こと。
me? She asked. Looking at the clock, I saw that it was exactly 3 in the morning. No time for a young girl to be alone in the hospital. Oh, the hospital. Perhaps she expected me to mistake her for a ghost. But I would not have cared if she had been a ghost. Either way, she was a godsend.
君は
Who are you?
誰だい？
What are you
なぜここに？
doing here?
私はサヤ。
I'm Saya.
パパのこと探
I'm
しに
looking
来
for
た
my
の。
dad. I assumed that she was the daughter of a late shift doctor or another patient. It was unusual but not unthinkable for such a girl to be wandering around the
あな
hospital.
た、怖がらないん
It's
じ
no
ゃつま
fun
らない。
if you're not scared.
あ、ちょっと。
Wait, I cried, desperate to keep her from leaving. It was only after she turned around and I realized I hadn't thought of what to say next.
何？
Well, her beautiful eye drew me in, healing my soul to its core. Through the white haze clouding my mind, I struggled to form a coherent sentence.
女の子にお
I
願いしていい
shouldn't
ことじ
do
ゃない
this
んだ。
to a girl, but you are the only one I can
君に
ask.
しか頼めない。
No longer concerned with propriety, I let the word come as they
手を
will. Will you let me hold your
握ら
hand?
せてもらえないだろうか。
Saya looked confused at first, but then she smiled, like she had just found a new toy. Her smile had brighter than my memories of the sun.
変な人。
You're strange,
そんなこと言
she
い出
said,
したの。
holding
あ
out
なた
her
が初
slender
めて。
white hand. No one asked me anything like that before. Ever so carefully, as though catching snowflake, I replaced my palm against her. I could feel her human warmth and softness of her delicate finger. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tear I shed then, I know that this is the moment I was saved from my fate.
この半月の間に
This is the first time in weeks that I've touched someone and felt
人
them
だと
as
感じら
human.
れる。
は？
Aww. Sorry. Pencet apa ini?
他の人じゃダメなんだ。
I can't touch anyone
僕
else.
事故に遭って
I can't
その
touch
後遺症らしいんだ
anyone
けど、
else. I was in
人が人の
I
姿
was
に見え
in
ないんだ
an
よ。
accident, and as a side effect of the surgery, I can't see people as human anymore.
ふーん
How
あ
mysterious.
なたって面白い
You are interesting,
明
she
日の
said,
夜もまた来ていい
winding her finger gently around mine. Can I come back tomorrow night?
ああ、
Yes,
そ
of
れはも
course. But are you sure
いいの
it's
かい？
okay?
大丈夫よ
Don't worry, she
夜は
replied.
私のも
The
のだから
nights belong to me. What do you mean? And so our rendezvous began. Saya came to my room every night at 3 a.m., skillfully taking advantage of the duty nurse shift change. I was astonished to learn that she was living inside the hospital.
これだけ広い
It's
と
so big
隠れる場所
that
に
I
は
would
事欠か
never
ないか
run
ら
out places to hide, she said, answering my surprise with a nonchalant smile. She had been living in the suburbs with her father, she told me, until one day he had suddenly stopped coming home. Gak pulang-pulang, bapaknya beli susu nih kayaknya nih. After she had tired of waiting, Saya had decided one night to sneak into the hospital where he had worked. Bang, nanti nobar gak? Nobar apa tuh? And there she had lived for over 2 months, searching for his whereabouts all the while.
学校には行かなくていいのかい？
Don't you have to go to
いい
school?
の勉強は全部パパに
In
教えてもら
Cinderella
ったから
game. Siang
さ
aja
や
dah,
とって
atau
も
sore.
頭がいいんだよ
Don't you have to go to school? No. That taught me everything I need to know. I'm really smart. She was a strange girl. On the one hand, she looked and acted like a child. On the other, she was remarkably self-reliant and at times exhibited a sharp intelligence and deep knowledge that many may have found unsettling. I didn't care. Saya was the only other human in a world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than the standard of society.
危なくないのか？
Aren't you worried you might
見つかりそうになったことは？
you might get caught?
全然平気
No, I don't have to worry about
ここにいれ
food
ば食べる
here,
ものにも
and
不自
it's
由し
a
ない
lot
し
more fun than
パパの
staying
う
in
ち
that
一人
house
ぼっち
by
でいるより
myself.
も入院してる患者さんた
I
ちのう
looked
ち
through the patient
ちょっと
list
精
and
神
found
的
the
に
one who
マ
have
イペさん
mental
の人を
problems.
事前にチェックしといてね
Saya continued, grinding
時
mischievously.
々部屋に真夜中に忍び込んで脅かしたりするのその
Sometimes
人が大
I
騒ぎ
sneak
して
into
も
their room
そういう
late
患
at
者さん
night
の言う
and
ことは
scare them.
みんな真
Even
に
if
受けた
they
りし
raise
ない
a
から
fuss, no one believed what a mental patient said.
結局は悪い夢って
They
こと
just
で
brushed it
片
off
付けられちゃう
as
し
a bad dream. Her confession reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Oh. Curiganya gini nih aku tahu ya. Si saya itu nggak secantik ini. Sebalikannya, paham nggak? Dan kamu lihat deh, bajunya ini kayak sekilas tuh kayak baju pasien gak sih? Who could have imagined that there was actually a real girl emphatically roaming this hallway?
じゃあ
So
僕も最
that's
初は
why
そ
you
のつ
came
も
to
りで。
my room in the first time.
うん
Yeah,
ごめんね
sorry. Are you mad? While her pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together.
もうやらない方がいい。
Baju pasien pakai
その代わり
pita. Ya kau abaikan
夜は僕
pitanya.
の
Kau
話し相手
abaikan
になってくれ
pitanya.
ないか？
Kayak baju pasien gak sih? Atau cuman karena ya artnya modelannya kayak gini gitu, nggak yang di gimana ini. Jadi kelihatan baju itu aja. Sebenarnya baju ya nggak tahu juga sih, tapi sekilas kayak baju pasien sih. Sorry, habis minum. While her pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together. You shouldn't do it anymore. Will you come talk to me instead?
さや
Yeah,
もその方が
that's
楽
more
しい
fun for me too. With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctor had no way to cure me, and the fact that I had undergone a still experimental procedure made me even more cautious. As a medical student, it was easy for me to imagine how the doctor would react if they discovered that I was exhibiting such unusual side effect. I was not about to become a guinea pig, a mere specimen to be examined with a clinical detachment. And so I hid my discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctor that any sign of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support. Looking forward to her nightly visit gave me the strength to endure my daily torture. Hope can make an enormous difference in a patient progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctor stunned. On the last night before my release, I summoned my courage and asked
君
her,
はこれからもずっとこの病院に居続けるのか
"Are you going to stay here forever?"
うん
Yeah, I
結
couldn't
局
learn
パパの手
anything
がか
about
り
my
はな
dad.
かったけど
But it's not like I have anything where else to go. I guess I'll stay as
バレ
long
そう
as I
になる
can
まで
hide.
はいいかなって
In other words, there was nothing keeping her
よ
there.
かったら
Why not stay with me? I
僕の
asked
家に来ない
timidly.
か
The question took all the courage I had.
え
家
Huh?
族はもういな
My
いから
family is gone, so
部
I
屋
have
はい
plenty
く
of
らでも
room.
余ってる
You want me to hide?
人目を忍ぶような必要もないし
Not a bad
住み
place
心地
to
も
live.
そんな
ずっと文則と一緒に暮らすの
Want me to live with you? As I was too afraid to ask her what she thought of that, so I hastily offered a deal.
君の父さんのことは
Exchange.
代わりに
I'll
僕が
help
探してあ
you
げる
look for your father.
約束するよ
I'll find him
必
no
ず
matter
居場所を
what.
見つけて
難しいと思うよ
I think that's
Sorry.
gonna be hard. Saya said, looking a little embarrassed.
多分パパ
Dad
何か悪
probably
いこ
did
とをして
something bad and
この
had
病
to
院を
leave
辞め
the
たんだ
hospital.
だから警察とか
We
は
can't
困る
get
の
the police involved.
なるべく
You'll
こっ
have
そ
to
りと
be as
探さなきゃい
discreet
けない
as
し
possible.
頑張るよどん
I'll
な
do
ことだってや
whatever
る
it takes.
僕は
I unable to control myself. I finally spoke the truth.
さやと離れたくないんだ
I can't be apart from you. At first, she looked bewildered. But after a few moments of silence, she said,
少しだけ考えさせて
"Give me a little time, Anjay." That night, she left my room earlier than usual. On the day of my release, I managed to smile as I accepted the hideous, foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts, calling themselves Koji, Omi, and Yo, came to pick me up. Though they had come to see me many times during my stay, it never got easier to see my friend change so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. When we walked to Koji's car, I looked desperately for Saya amid the grotesque scenery. Even as we drove away, I kept watching the hospital fade into the distance, praying for a last glimmer of hope. But Saya never appeared. Oh, tiba-tiba nge-spawn nanti di rumahnya kah? After Koji and the other dropped me off, I paused a while to regard my surroundings. I had lived my entire life on this block, in this house. There was no other place that I could call home. But nothing was as I remembered. As I walked up the path to the front door and took the yard where I had spent my childhood, I could feel those memories being defiled by the twisted, festering shape around me. Iya sih. Kalau kau balik-balik ngeliat rumahmu kayak gini kan enggak. Ya gimana gitu. Inside the house, I found nothing familiar. Nothing to offer me comfort and warmth. What I had once called home was now a whole other world.
僕にはもう
I have no home,
帰
I
る場
whisper
所なんて
with
な
a
い
smile of self-pity. There was one last stop to make, one last nail to hammer into my coffin. I stepped into the room that had cradled me from childhood. The walls were peppered with human entrail. The bed, a tangled mess of warm flesh. But none of that mattered. There, curled up on the bed like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked up at me and in a tiny, weak voice said,
本当にここにいても
"Can
い
I
い？
really stay?" I respond by sweeping her into my arm, embracing her tightly so that she would not escape. Saya did not resist. When she arrived at the Sakisaka house, Omi first take a deep breath to calm herself. Her anger does not vanish entirely, of course, but at least now she can hear herself think. While waiting for a response from intercom, she looked over the patch of yard that she can see from outside the gate. Even Omi isn't normally one to complain about others people's housekeeping, but this is going too far. The grass is growing wild, and there are piles of dead leaves scattered everywhere. It doesn't just look untended, it looks like an uninhabited ruin. It's still light out, but every window has its torn shutter tightly sealed. Omi guessed that they've been closed since morning. What kind of life is Fuminori leading? Even if he is living alone, he can't neglect his housework forever. And is it just her imagination, or does something stink like rotten meat? It couldn't be coming from the yard, could it? There's still no response, so she pressed the buzzer a second time, a third time, and a fourth time. Finally, after this has gone on for over 10 minutes, Omi lost her patience and opened the cover of the intercom. As she expected, the power has been disconnected. Oh iya sih, orang kayak si yang lagi mengalami gejala itu nggak mungkin bayar listrik juga kan? Dan dia nggak butuh listrik gak sih? Kan sight dia itu nggak berpengaruh sama cahaya kayaknya. As she expected, the power blah blah blah. Perhaps Fuminori has a good reason for shutting out the world, but Omi can only see it as a lack of respect for others. His anger rekindled. She pushed the gate open and stomped through the yard to the front door. Given the state of his intercom, she doubted that Fuminori will respond to knock, so Omi decided to just open the door and go in shouting. And if the door is locked, she'll just have to. Surprisingly, the door knob turned easily in her hand, and the enraged Omi found herself throwing the door open wider than she intended. Her nostrils are instantly assaulted by a choking stench.
え？
What
何？
is that smell? After the kata Sinopak, Anda random sekali pertanyaannya. As Omi stand petrified on the threshold, the cobble hanging on the inside of the door shimmed loudly. A moment later, "Welcome home." Omi can't believe her ear. The voice she just heard could not have been human. Yet, its intonation were too complex for any animal she can imagine.
誰かいるの？
"Is someone there?" She calls out to the end of the hallway from which the voice came. There's no response. Instead, she hears the sound of something soft and wet, flopping its way deeper into the house. Finding it difficult to place a meaningful image to the voice she just heard, Omi stares blankly at the empty vestibule. There's nothing there, not even Fuminori's shoes, which can only mean he's still outside somewhere wearing them. Aku butuh jawaban, gak peduli aku. The house should be empty. But then, what was that voice just now? Her anger has vanished as if it were never there. Nevertheless, Omi set foot into the hallway, leaving the door open so that the cobble won't ring. The floor creaks, setting her nerve on edge. Omi isn't sure why she is acting like a burglar, but something tells her to make as little noise as possible. The potency of the stink inside the house makes the whiff she caught outside pale in comparison. It's sickening, like rotten fish guts. Has food been left to spoil in the kitchen? She hears a bubbling sound up ahead. Stepping gingerly on the creaking floorboard, Omi makes her way to the end of the hallway. She finds rooms to both sides of her. One lit, the other dark, and chooses to look into the lit room. It's the kitchen, lit by what must be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. The sound she heard was pot boiling on the stove, and on the chopping board next to it lay a butcher knife and some half-diced carrot. A perfectly normal household scene, with the light of the setting sun making everything the color decomposing fruit. Something is wrong. Who was cooking here, and where did they go? Bener sih.
誰か
Is
いないんですか？
anyone here? Omi calls, regretting it immediately as she realized that her voice is shaking, as her words echo faintly through the silent house. She begins to feel foolish and defenseless. Suddenly, she feels something cold seeping through her pantyhose. She timidly reaches down to touch her feet. Her fingertips come away covered with a viscous, olive green slime, like a filthy water from a tank long clogged with alga and dead fish. The whole floor is covered with it. It must be the source of the stench. Omi now wishes that she had worn her shoes inside. Manners be damned. When she looks back, ruefully, the way she came, she realized that her current position is not visible from the entrance. This kitchen must be where that strange voice comes from. The next room is probably the den. As she expected from the closed storm shutter, it's pitch black inside. Omi wants nothing more than to flee this house, but that would mean not turning her back to the darkness, and that she simply cannot bring herself to do. Moved by some irrational compulsion, Omi set foot into the den. It is too dark to see anything, and the sting is far worse than before. Bentar ya. Oke, kita lanjut. It is too dark to see anything. The sting is far worse than before. She slid her hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch. Finding it much sooner than she expected, she flipped it on like its last hope. The colors. Oh, ini warna yang bikin dia bisa lihat. The colors. So many colors. The purple of entrail, the brown of the rotten meat, the crimson of fresh blood, and the yellow of fat. What? Oh, itu bukan dari cat jadinya. Oke. Unexpected. Soalnya dia bilang dia beli dari tempat cat tadinya. Coklat itu dari rotten meat, daging busuk. The crimson of fresh dari dari darah, ini yang merah-merah. Yellownya itu dari lemak. Wow, this color and more that cannot be described cover every inch of the room. In the maddening array, the colors say all that needs to be said about the painter hatred, malice, and insanity. Ditinggal atau di ghosting sama aja, Jancu. Itu kau kan pelakunya. Omi's legs give out from the shock, sending her to the floor. Slime immediately soaked through her jeans. It's cold tendrils creeping up her legs. Crotch. What crotch? Okay. And her neck. Her hand flies to her neck, where it is greeted by another drop of chili slime. Above her, something is dripping down on her head, making perhaps the worst decision of her life. Omi looks up. The predator clinging to the ceiling, poised to leap upon its prey. She sees it in every clear. Her mouth and nose are sealed before she can scream, and her belly is torn open as something enters to feast on her innards. But by the time she feels any of this, Omi has already gone mad. Benar kan dugaanku, Takoya? Ini si sayanya ini monster ya. Kebalikannya jadinya. I bit the bullet and tried to take the train, but the rush hour crowds were so bad that I had to get off hallway and walk. I'm running pretty late. Monster apa bang? Kebalikannya. Kan dia lihat temennya kan bukan manusia kan. Jadi monster kan. Kayak tumor gitu kan. Atau slimy gitu kan. Nah, dia dilihat yang itunya manusia. Nah, sebaliknya. I'm running pretty late. Is Saya worried? I hope she's not mad. Fairy Tail atau Bleach? Gak nonton dulu nih. When I entered the yard, I realized that the front door has been left wide open. Light from the living room is seeping out into the hallway, and I hear what sounds like someone smacking their lips. There's also a tantalizing fragrance in the air. Is it Saya? I considered calling out to her, but decided to enter in silence instead. Something smells strange, though not unpleasant. The aroma is quite soothing. In fact, it reminds me of Saya's hair. At first, I'm surprised by what I see in the living room. The floor is covered with what looks to be some kind of grass, probably the source of the herb-like smell. And there are fruit or vegetable-like balls of varying size, scattered elsewhere. Game Stars malam-malam langsung rame. Halo Kasyur, welcome to the stream. Saya. Huh? Saya turns around, her eyes wide with surprise. She then looks away sheepishly, like a child caught at some pranks.
何を食べてるんだい？
What are you eating?
これは
This is...
その
Well, she stammered, so flustered that I suddenly feel bad for sneaking up on her. Remembering that she has never eaten in front of me before, I realized that she must be quite embarrassed.
一ついいか
Can
な？
I have one? I scoop up the closest fruit thing and pop it into my mouth, ignoring Saya's attempt to wave me off. Oke, dia berarti makan si temennya ini. Tako ya. Dia makan organnya, aku rasa. Yang slime itu udah organnya. It has a strange texture, soft and pliable, like a peach or a pear. A pear. Bacanya pear bukan pear. When I bite into it with my back teeth, A succulent juice filled my mouth, combined with a sharp, strong fragrance. It's unlike anything I've ever tasted.
何か味付けと
How
か調理し
did
てあ
you
るのか
make
これ
this? What did you use?
調理ってほどの
It wasn't hard. I just took it apart and melted
ちょっと
it
溶
a
かして
little to
食べ
make
や
it
すくした
easier
だけ
to
で
eat. It's practically raw. Oh, I pick up a different lump. This one consisting of fruity flesh around the hard core. Tearing a chunk off in my mouth, I find that it has a similar taste to the last one.
ねえ
Hey,
大丈
are you
夫
okay? That's yeah.
僕でも食べられ
Even
る
I
味だ
can eat this. In fact,
って
it's
いうよ
good.
り
そうなの
Really? Okay. Monogatari series atau Gintama? Beda itu, Cok. Beda genre, Cok. At first, saya looked dumbstruck, but then she burst out laughing.
そうなんだ
This is what you
みの
like.
りもこういうのが好きだったんだ
Now I feel stupid for going to all that trouble.
さやっていつもこういうものを食べ
Is
てた
this what you always eat, Saya?
こんな大物は
Yeah.
久しぶりだけどね
Though it's been a while since I had
近所の
one so
公
big,
園とか
I
で
usually
取っ
catch
て
them
くれ
in
る
the
やつ
nearby park. There is an impressive nature preserve not too far from here. I've never heard about fruit like this growing there, but well, of course, they only look like fruit to me. They're really something else. Nggak peduli, pilih aja, nggak mau.
ごめんね一番美味しいとこ
Sorry,
ろは
I already
さっき
ate the best
さやが
part.
全部食べちゃった
Apa tuh best partnya tuh?
いいよまた
That's
今度で
okay, there's always next time.
でもこれで
And
明
now,
日から一緒
we
に
can
食
eat
事ができる
together.
ね
Yeah, Saya seems really happy. I'm happy too, of course. Eating with someone is much more fun than eating alone. And it makes me food taste better too.
まだまだいっぱいあるし食べきれない分は冷や
There's
せば
still
2、3
plenty
日は
left.
大
It
丈
will
夫だ
keep
よ
chill for
ちょっと
2 or
味
3
は
days.
落ちるんだけどね
Though it won't taste as
じゃ
good.
あ早めに片付けておこう
Then
か
we will better start putting it away. Sealing the small fruit in Tupperware, anjir, and the large one in pots and bowl, Saya and I stored the remaining food in the refrigerator. Generator. Thinking of tomorrow's dinner filled me with anticipation. I feel that little by little, I'm starting to regain the joy of living. Saya will guide me. With her, I can live on. Dia belum tahu, guys, kebenarannya. True Scary Stories, Hospital Edition, Chapter 4. Oh, kita udah chapter 4. The Monster in the Hospital. A medical student relate his shocking experience. Will you believe him or not? Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of the last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night, screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares, and many of them had to be sedated. Some patients even transferred to other hospitals because of it. The weird thing was that they had all had exactly the same dream. A dream about same horribly disgusting monster staring down at them from their bedside. But the really strange stuff started happening after that. There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus looking for scraps from the student. One day, the cats suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they had stopped coming. It was more like they had vanished from the area entirely. And then, people stopped walking their dogs around. According to rumor, the dogs were refusing to go anywhere near the school. Eventually, things started going missing in the hospital. Organs, to precise. Ya kan? Tadi yang dimakan organnya ya. Transplant organ kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 times that it happened. They tried to keep it from the student, but we heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. The janitor would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night. Traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stain caused by something dripping through the ceiling. The late shift nurse talked about hearing strange noise on the same night. The patient woke screaming. There's one last story, one you can never mention inside the hospital. One day, the obstetrics department went crazy. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. If that were true, the police would have come and it would have been all over the news. But they say the big shots managed to make it all go away. It's just a rumor, of course. This strange incident suddenly stopped toward the end of summer. Now, there are almost no patients complaining of nightmare, and the cats have started coming back to campus. But still, what happened in the hospital that summer? Even now, just thinking about it, give me the creeps. Bagus ini, bagus. Kau udah pernah main ini, Kasher? Tin, tin, tin.
ダメだ。
Nothing. This is the third day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing person report.
まあ、あいつのことだからな。
Well, you know her.
何事もなかったみたいに。
She'll probably just
ひょっこり顔出しそう
pop
な
up
気もするんだ。
somewhere like nothing happened. I hope so.
だといいけど。
Yo replies with a gloomy expression. She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminori 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yo hasn't seen Fuminori since then, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、殿くん、もう一度考
Hey,
えてみようよ。
Koji, let's keep thinking. Isn't
どこ
there
か
somewhere Omi
Omi-chan
might have gone?
いや、
No.
一通りは確かめたし。
Koji answered evasively. I already checked everywhere. It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Well, I've gotta go.
うん。
Unless Koji is mistaken. Yo is supposed to have class next period too, but she just sit there staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he left the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the exact same place.
海のりは一体。
What the hell is Fuminori doing? When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was questioning Fuminori. After all, the last time he had seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with unequivocal denial and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she had left, and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Or perhaps she ran into trouble on the way. Koji concluded, or more accurately convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying the one remaining possibility, that Fuminori was lying, that he had met Omi and was involved with her disappearance. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she had planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said so himself, didn't he? In that case, he had told the police everything they needed to know. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict has built up inside of him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that is what allows him to catch sight of his friend Spec through the crowd of smiling students. Apa ini? Fuminori? At first, Koji assumed that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appeared that he is instead going home. Strange. Medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he is initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts for only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Oke, naik kereta, ngikutin deh, lagi ngebuntutin deh. Fuminori wasn't going home, as become obvious when he boarded a train heading in the opposite direction. Koji's next guess was that he was going to see his doctor at the T University Hospital, but Fuminori rode straight through the closest station. Where is he going? At first, Koji felt ashamed for tailing his friend like this, but his conscience fell silent as Fuminori's action grew more mysterious. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji felt to discovering the truth behind Fuminori's sudden transformation. Any knowledge will be welcome, no matter how slight. Even Koji is beginning to think that there must be more behind Fuminori's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, one that will help him decide whether Fuminori can still be trusted. Fuminori gets off at a small station in a nondescript suburb of Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him amid the other disembarking passenger. The area is quite desolate, with only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the station. At the train station, it is easy for Koji to keep Fuminori in view. Their neighborhood was carved out of the Fuji foothills, and here and there remain steep inclines sih harusnya, and wooded areas that escape assimilation. Koji is amazed that such a quiet place exists less than an hour out of central Tokyo. Fuminori seems to know this street. He moves quickly and purposely through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminori reached a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opened the door and vanished inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminori can treat the house as his own. After waiting to see if Fuminori comes back out, Koji approached the gate and checked the nameplate. Ogai it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintance. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wad of leaflets sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it has been abandoned for some time. A small playground about 2 blocks away provided an adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai home. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a rear exit. Koji settled down on a bench to begin his takeout. I should have brought more smokes. Sambil ngudut ya dia. 1 hour has passed and then another. but there remained no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon, twilight settled upon the neighbor. After Koji's one pack of cigarettes ran out, the stakeout became a battle against mounting impatience. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text message, but his efforts are futile, as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn deep blue and the street lights come on, Fuminori finally emerged from the house and head back toward the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori. He rings the doorbell just to make sure. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checked to make sure no one is watching and turned the doorknob. The door is not locked. Gak dikunci. The moment he entered the house, stale air thick with mold and fills Koji's nostril. Okay, it is unmistakable smell of a house that has no long lain untouched. Udah abandoned house berarti ini. There is also a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of damp sewer and fetid cistern. Flipping the light switch does nothing. The power must be cut off. Koji used his cigarette lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering the floor, he sees several brand new trails of footprints that could only have been made by shoes. Koji decided to follow suit and dispense with courtesy. He entered with his shoes on. The lighter, flickering flame pushed back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from furniture to tableware and appliance, nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with little more than the clothes on his back. Could he have gone on a long vacation? The calendar in the den is still turned to April, empty and silent, yet still exhibiting sign of the life that was once lived there. The house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard, like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly entered his mind. No one is living here, but that does not have to mean that the owner left. Maybe he was murdered, and his rotting corpse is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand will make him feel much better. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the second floor, where he begins to catch the scan of paper in the stale air. It is the smell of old book, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or library. Apa nih? The first room on the second floor turned out to be a study. Its towering shelf packed with such a vast number of books that Koji feared for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that his study belongs to a medical professional, and a high-level one at that. Judging by the content of the books, a small gas board of technical volume far beyond a simple student understanding. The owner's interests lie more with medical research than with clinical practice. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests that he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawer are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked on the side table catching his eye. Being next to the desk, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature could shed some light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examined the three books. These aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old, leather-bound Western tome, like the sort you would find in a rare bookstore. The titles are meaningless to him. Traité des chiffres appears to concern semiotics, but Ars Magna et Ultima is some kind of treatise on divination. And then there's a Phoenix manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he paged through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Maybe it's some kind of cipher. Whatever they are clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that this Ogai was a doctor. Looking down, Koji suddenly noticed the glint of something black and metallic underneath the chair. A pocket-sized flashlight, quiet out of place among all this dusty book. Fuminori must have brought it in. With relief, Koji exchanged his lighter for the flashlight. Its tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away from the darkness. Casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decided to explore the rest of the house. Koji noticed something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter weak flame. The slime. Dark, oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around the door knob and stair banister, like someone grasped them with hand wrapped in greasy cloth. Looking closer, he sees places where slime was splashed low on the wall, almost as if a wet mop was run violently across the floor. Could Ogai have made this mark? If so, how? Koji began to feel sick as he imagined a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Finding the bedroom next to the study, Koji checked the closet on a hunch. He discovered 2 empty suitcases, not what one would leave behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere inside the house. Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he will have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reported it first, but if they find the body later, it will be awfully hard to explain his fingertip all over the house. This flashlight revealed the den to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looked as though it was dredged from the bottom of a swamp. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. He reached the door to the bathroom. A common scene from TV drama flashes through his head. A body with slit wrists floating in a bathtub full of water. And wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposed of his victim in a bathtub filled with lye? Koji braced himself for the worst and opened the door slowly, then shined his light into the ceramic bathtub that appeared from the darkness like a white ghost. Apa nih? bones. A mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts one hand against the wall to steady himself as his leg threatened to buckle. Something is wrong, he realized as he tries desperately to get his thought in order. The bones are too small, and there are too many of them. They aren't human. After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji entered the bathroom and examined the tub. The bones are piled atop each other like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps cats or dogs. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies will it take to produce this many bones? The bones have all been separated from one another, so it doesn't look like bodies were just thrown into the bathtub and left to rot. Each bone is covered with deep grooves, mark left by teeth biting through flesh. Bang! Hello fun, welcome to the stream. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of his house must have kept some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bone of small animal to eat and disposing of the remain in the bathtub. But why not dispose of the leftover properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage, or was there something keeping him from leaving the house? The relief? Koji felt. Game klik-klik lagi, yoi bro Regas. Bang, aku mau turu, oke. Monggo turu, fun. But welcome to the stream ya, bro Regas ya. They could have just been thrown out with the garbage, blah 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 blah. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminori doing here?
どうした
What's
コウス
wrong, Koji? Koji wheels around his light, revealing Fuminori's expressionless
不
face.
法侵入だぞ
You're
コウス
trespassing.
お前だって同じ
So
だ
are
ろう
you?
が
Koji replies, barely managing to speak over the pounding of his heart. Fuminori pushed past Koji and looked into the bathtub. He doesn't even flinch at the sight of the
僕は
bones.
この家の人と知り合いなんだ
A
頼ま
friend
れ
of
て探し
mine
物を
lives
しに
here.
来ただけさ
I'm just running an errand.
知り合いって
What? Who is this
いつから
person? Where did you
一体
meet?
何者なんだ
Setidaknya aku meninggalkan like di sini walaupun tidak tertarik dengan gamenya. Oke, thank you, Bro Regas. Koji doesn't want to believe that the old friendly Fuminori could have had contact with the denizen of this
いず
house.
れお前にも紹介するよ僕の恩人とも言える人だから
I'll introduce you one of this day, he says, turning to leave without even a glance at Koji. I owe her my
おい
life.
文則
Hey, Fuminori. Koji runs after Fuminori. His heart is finally beating
お
normally
前
again.
まさか近頃様子がおかしいのは
Wait, is
その
this
知り合いっていうやつの
friend
せい
of
なんだ
yours the reason you've been acting so strange? Standing in the entrance, Fuminori glared coldly at Koji over his shoulder, and neither lack of emotion in his eyes give Koji
僕の
pause.
後をつけてきたんだ
You
ね
followed me,
コウジ
didn't you? Koji swallowed. What can he
そう
say?
いうのは迷惑だ二度とやらないでもら
You're
いたい
starting to bother me, Koji. Don't do it again.
あ
Fine. Fuminori walks away without another word, leaving Koji alone in the entrance. Tunggu game menarik lainnya bang. Oke bro Regas. Up until this very moment, concern for his friend was still at the forefront of his mind. Now, however, that concern is swiftly giving way to a growing sense of dread. Thus, the Fuminori he knew no longer exists. Was the person who just stared Koji down an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin? Koji has begun to believe that it might be so. What a nuisance. Why does he insist on interfering? If he only spoke with me to exchange pleasantries, even I could bear it. But now he's sticking his nose into my business just to satisfy his curiosity. Koji is a perfect example of someone who thinks that it's always good to take an interest in other people's affairs Gua skip dulu bang, gue pikir tadi lanjutin overeat lagi. Oh oke oke. Gak apa-apa bro guys. Thank you lo udah mampir. He probably think that he's doing me a favor by prying into my life. He couldn't be more wrong. If he keep this up, I might have to find some way to deal with him. Like Saya said, I have to keep my search for Dr. Ogai a secret. Koji could ruin everything. I didn't have time to fully investigate the Ogai residence today. At this rate, it would probably take several days just to go through the study. Didn't believe that I would find anything to help with the search, but I think there's still a lot to explore. Who knows that what will I discover? Problem is, Koji. He know about the house now. Will he make things difficult? Excuse me, a hair-rising voice calls as I'm about to pass through my gate. Suppressing a shudder, I put on a fake smile and turned to face the writhing mass of rotten flesh that is staring at me with bulging eye. Good evening, are you just getting old? Oke aman, lagi banyak kerjaan juga gue malam ini, mampir bentar doang, sorry. Nggak apa-apa bro guys, kalem. Yes I am. Oh of course, this is my next door neighbor, Suzumi, a middle-aged painter I think, who spent all day at home while his wife worked. Hah? Namanya Suzumi, tapi his wife Suzumi ini laki-laki berarti. Aku kirain perempuan. I haven't had much contact with him since the accident. Why is he suddenly talking to me now? Have you gotten used to living alone? Yes, thank you for your help. I know it must be very difficult, but you are still young. You have to try to move on with your life. Yeah. What is this? Did he stop me just to deliver a lecture? With such a big house, it must be hard to take care of everything by yourself. Yes, I suppose it is rather difficult. Why not hire a caretaker? Didn't your father have one? I'm still a student. I can't really afford the expense. I see. The flash beast undulates fully as though it still has something to say. The sight of it is driving me close to the edge. But so, don't you think you should add this that to your yard? I will be happy to help. No, thank you. I'll manage it on my own. No, I get it. He's worried that unsightliness of my house might diminish the image of his own. Damn snob. I flash a token smile, then retreat behind the safety of my gate. I can feel Suzumi's eyes boring into my back all the way to the front door. Why won't everyone stay out of my life? I just want to live together with Saya, alone, where no one will ever bother us. Suzumi Yosuke sighed in annoyance as he watched the neighbor boy retreat into his house. What's with his attitude? Even while talking, he kept his eyes averted, as if to avoid looking at something repulsive. Has he always been such an unpleasant young man? No, of course not. When his parents were still alive, he had been a normal youth, a little shy, but sensitive and caring. It must be the stress of his sad situation. If it continues to build, he might start to develop serious mental problems. Or is it too late already? Yosuke wondered as he gazed warily at the Sakisaka yard. Even during dinner, Yosuke can't shake the neighboring house from his mind.
どうしたのあなた
What's wrong, honey? You look like something's bothering you. Yeah, I saw the young man from the next
お
door
隣の
today,
って
Fuminori.
庭
I
のこと
just had
一
to
言
say
言っておい
something
た
about his
そ
yard.
うよね
I know.
せ
I
め
wish
てあ
he
の
will
匂
at
いだ
least
け
do
は
something
ど
about
う
that
にかして
smell.
もらいたいわよね
The stain coming from Sakisaka house grow worse each day, and Suzumi family is at its wit's
あ
end.
の草むらの中に死んだ猫でもいるんじゃないかしら でも住んでい
Could
て
there
気
be
づかないの
that
かしら
cat
ね
in his
あの
bushes?
匂いに。
He must notice the smell coming from his own
まさ
yard.
かとは思うが、生ゴミをそのまま
Maybe
庭に
he's
捨てて
leaving
いるん
his
じゃあるまいな。
garbage out there.
そんな
He wouldn't.
いや、
No, I
今の
wouldn't
様子だ
put
とやり
it.
かねん。
I
一
wouldn't
日中
put
ずっ
it
と
past
雨戸
him.
を閉め切って
Who knows
何をや
what
って
he's
るのか
doing
もわ
in
からな
there
い。
all day
どう
with
いう
the
暮らし
storm
をしている
shattered
のやら。
clothes. What kind of life is he leading?
お兄ちゃん頭おかしくなっちゃったのかな。
Did he go
こい
crazy?
ヒロミ
Now hear me, you
そういう
mustn't
言い
say
方は
things
ダメ。
like that.
いや、
Honestly,
あれは本当に
with
ち
the
ょっ
way
と
things
度
are
を過ぎて
going,
る。
I'm starting to
ひょっとしたら
wonder if he's
品
gone
質強化何
paranoid
か。
or
大
something.
丈夫なのそれ。
Will he be
早く自
alright?
覚して医者にでも行ってもらわんことには。
Unless he gets help soon. Who knows? The second crawl by each tick of the clock, compounding my agony. When I returned from the Ogai residence, I was greeted by a silent, empty home. Saya had vanished without leaving any clues as to her whereabouts. It isn't rare for her to go for a walk at night. I've often gone with her. However, such outing always take place in the middle of the night, when no one is around, and never lasts for more than 2 hours. Right now it's 5 in the morning. Soon the sky will begin to show the first light of dawn. Even if she left right before I returned, she has still been gone for almost half a day. I can't sleep. I can only wait in anguish. I tried to distract myself by painting more rooms, but I couldn't concentrate on the work. If I had known this would happen, I would have left the Ogai house sooner. I wish I hadn't waste time on Koji. If Saya doesn't return, the thought makes me want to tear out my hair after its long absence. The terror of true loneliness is too much to bear. At
ただい
last,
ま
the cowbell shim and Saya's long-awaited "I'm home" rings out from the bottom of the stair. As I jump out of my bed in relief, all of the stress that has built up through the night is released in a wave that threatens to sweep me off my feet.
疲れた。
Ah,
や
so
っぱり
tired.
往復すると遠いな。
I knew the trip will be so hard.
さや、
Saya, where have
一
you?
体どこに？
My question trailed off as I noticed the thick bundle of paper that she's carrying under her
それ
arm.
は
What are those?
文則のカルテとか手術の記録。
Your medical
今日は
chart
古
and
巣の病
surgery
院に行ってき
record.
たの。
I went back to the hospital today and pulled her favorite cushion over and collapsed into it, stretching luxuriously.
こんな夜中に T 台から歩いて
You
戻ってきたの
walked
か。
all the way back from the hospital in the middle of the night.
ごめんね。本当はもっと早く帰れると思ってたんだけど、調べ出したらキリがなくって。
Sorry, she says, skillfully gathering the scattered paper together. I meant to come back sooner, but there were so many files to go through.
結局全部持ち出してきちゃった。
So I decided to just bring everything. It was so heavy. Maybe it's just exhaustion, but I'm not understanding a word Saya's saying.
だからそんなもの持っ
What
てきて
are you
どうする
planning
つ
to
もり
do
なん
with
だ。
all this?
どうするって、もちろん調べるのよ。うちで時間かけてじっくり。
What do you mean? I'm going to study it, of course, she replies, holding one MRI photograph after another up to the light. I'll have plenty of time to go over it here.
と、
Ah, better check this one. Oh, I see.
何やってん
Well,
だ
that was silly of them. And like as she
これは要チェック
separate
かな。
photo into a growing pile beside her made me think that this might not be a joke
そうなんだ。
after all.
君わかるのか。
Do you
こういうの。
understand this stuff?
パパにいろいろと教
I
わったか
learned
ら。
a lot from that. She flashed me a grin and returned to the
なる
paper.
ほどね。
So that's how it is.
これじゃいつ
No
まで
wonder it can't be
直
fixed.
せないのか。
It can't.
人間のお医者さんじゃ。
Not by a human doctor. I can't tell if she's being serious.
私でもまだちょっと難しいかな。いろ
Even
いろ
for
と
me,
試してからでない
it
と。
will probably be tough. She says offhandedly, even as her hand continued to shuffle paper. I'll have to experiment first. Watching more closely, I realize that her eyes are scanning each page rapidly, so rapidly, in fact, that I was unable to notice it at first. Could Saya actually be reading my
Na,
chart?
Saya.
Hey, Saya. Yeah, she answered coolly, looking up from the
今
chart.
日はもう疲れたし
I'm tired.
寝ないか
Let's go to bed.
文則がそうしたいならそうする。
If that's what you want.
おい
Begin to tear off my clothes. Hey,
寝る前に
come on, just once before bed,
Saya.
okay? Hey, Saya,
Oh,
don't you think it's
siya.
unhealthy to be
Karada
doing
ni
this
Proc
every
janai
day?
ka.
Apa nih yang every day?
え
Eh? Are you
Yeah.
sick? No, not me.
僕は別に
My body is all
ちゃんと
grown
大人の
up like
体に
yours.
平気だよ。
Don't worry. She laughed playfully as she pushed me onto the bed. The familiar sweet sensation of her weight and skin rendering me helpless.
平気なわけないだろ
But I am
今ま
worried.
で否
We
認を
haven't
してない
used
って
any
のに
contraception.
文則はさ、
Fuminori, she whispered,
Saya ni
staring
kodomo
straight into my
umaseru no.
eyes. You don't want me to
Iya.
have your children. How can I respond to
い
that?
やも何も
It's not that. Your
さ
body is
や
too
みたいに
small.
小さい体じゃ無理だって
Pregnancy is a serious
母
burden.
体の負
You
担っての
know.
は大
That's not really
文
something
則が
you
心
have to
配
worry
してる
about.
ことって
Saya
割
seems
と
unsure
的
how to
外れなんだ
reply,
けど。
but not because she doesn't understand what I say. Rather, the bemused look on her face make it seem as though I'm the one not getting it.
でもそれって文
But
則
I
が
know
さ
you're
やのこ
just
とを
thinking
大
of
事に
me.
思ってくれ
She
てるか
says
らなんだ
suddenly
よ
her
ね。
smile glowing with innocence. So I'm happy. By the time I break the spell of her angelic smile, Saya has undone my belt. Come on, Saya.
大丈夫。
Relax. She
じゃ
says
あ今
teasing
夜
me.
は
Tonight,
文則が
I'll
心
do it
配
so
し
you
ない
don't
ような
have to
方法
worry.
でしてあげ
What
る。
do? As she finished, she looked up at me, smiling like she just pulled the greatest prank of
こ
her
れだ
life.
ったら文則だって
See,
心
you
配
don't
ない
have
で
to
しょ。
worry if I do it like this.
いや
Well,
ま
what am I supposed to say to that?
ね
Hey, was it
え、ダメ
bad?
だった
It didn't feel good.
こういう
Hearing
の
the
だと
sudden
気持ちよくない
nervousness in Saya's voice, I hastily stammered.
あそんなことない
Of course, it
でも
felt
さ
good.
や
But Saya, you didn't have to do that.
そんな
What? But I
あれ
want
はさやにちょうだいよ
it
文則の
I
一
want
滴だって
you
残さ
inside
ずに
me.
欲しい
中に
inside you. So Saya really does want to bear my child. I'm not averse to the idea. I still think it might be too early, of course. There isn't much point in worrying about my reputation now. Assuming that Saya and I will be left alone, I even
文
welcome it.
則は
You don't like it? She gazed up at me pleadingly. How can I resist?
嫌なんかじゃない
I
さ
do
さや
like
さえ
it
それで
as
いいの
long
な
as you
ら
are okay with it. So
僕
am
だっ
I.
て
Saya smiled with relief and burrowed contentedly into my chest.
文則大好き
I love you, Fuminori. She purred softly. With her body draped over mine, I became even more aware of how light and delicate she is. Can this tiny girl and I really live as a husband and wife? I feel a pang of self-loathing at the question. How can I still be afraid after all that happened? Saya's feelings are so earnest. How can I not accept them? And not to resolve once and for all to rid myself of the useless trapping of morality. Saya and I are all that matters. There's no point in worrying about what others think anymore. Although I suppose I should still talk to Saya's guardian, of course. I need to find okay. By the time I drift to sleep in exhaustion, comforting embrace, all doubt about Saya's action have vanished from my mind. Whatever the case, all that matters is that she's returned to me. Two o'clock for Suzumi Yosuke. This is the most fulfilling time of day. After seeing his wife and daughter off, taking care of the morning, course, and eating a leisurely lunch, it's finally time to sit down at his easel. He's not particularly popular painter, and he will only hope an exhibition if he were hurting for money. However, the design work he does on the side ensure that there's always enough to support his lifestyle. Alongside the salary his wife earned working for a magazine, they are able to pay their mortgage, send their daughter to school, and still have plenty left over. Yosuke's life is perfect, leisurely, and absent of want. He loves his wife, considering it the symbol of his success when he mows the lawn, polishes the window and floor, and cleans the kitchen, toilet, and the bath. He feels the same joy as he does when washing his own body, just as he knows the length of his fingernail and the times since his last meal. He also knows everything about his home condition, the status of every door, the freshness of every flower, the amount of ice in the ice tray, every last detail. This is his pride, and when he sits in his studio, smelling the turpentine and knowing that each element of his house is in perfect order, he feels the ultimate satisfaction. While trying to find the right combination of paint on his palette, he suddenly feels thirsty, but soon remembered that there isn't much orange juice left in the refrigerator. In fact, it's also about time to stock up on bath additive and powder soap. He could get everything at the supermarket when he goes to shop for dinner, but it will probably be quite heavy. Now then, where should I leave off to go shopping? As he pondered this dilemma, he headed downstairs to the kitchen. Just then, a breath of air tickles the back of his neck, bringing him to a halt in the middle of the hallway. A breeze impossible. Every window in the house is closed. Yusuke shut them himself during his morning cleaning. Yosuke entered the living room, searching for the source of the breeze. Something stinks. It's the same pungent smell of fetid swampland that emanates from the Sakisaka house. The window facing the yard next door is open, its curtain billowing loosely in the gentle breeze. There's a hole in the glass next to the lock. It looks strange, like it was melted by some chemical instead of broken. Someone must have reached through the hole to unlock the window. Yusuke stands paralyzed, his heart pounding with anger and fear. He listened carefully, but hears nothing. Perhaps the intruder has already finished his business and left. But a burglar wouldn't have left the room untouched, would he? Maybe he heard Yosuke coming and hid somewhere nearby. Yosuke realized that his still wet palette knife is in his right hand. He must have forgotten to put it aside before going downstairs. He stared numbly at the knife for a moment and decides that it's not enough protection. Instead, he grabbed the ashtray sitting on the top of the table made of thick solid glass. It is big and heavy enough to serve as a weapon. The home that he thought of as part of himself now seemed merely alien. Keenly aware of thumping of his heart, Yosuke looked around the living room and sees little that could be used as a hiding place. The intruder must have gone either to the guest room or through the dining room to the kitchen. The kitchen is close to the stair. If there had been movement, Yosuke would have noticed it when he came down, which meant that he guessed the room that the guest room is the most likely place. He shuffled over to the guest room door and prepared to slide it open. But what is that stench? Could the breeze alone carry something so full? It's as if the odor is coming from inside the room. He reaches his ashtray and throws open the door. The straw matted Japanese style room is empty. There is a closet, but no one could fit in there. So the intruder already left. Yosuke relaxed, the exhaustion of sudden relief coming over him. And that is when something seized his ankle. In stun, he freezes in shock. His leg is yanking out from under him, sending him crashing to the floor. Stars explode behind his eyes as his hat smacked against the door rail. The hat, if it can even be called that, wrapped around Yosuke's ankle, extend all the way back to beneath the living room sofa. There are barely 5 centimeters between the sofa and the floor. Whatever is hiding there, whatever is hiding there, it can't possibly human. Before the screaming, Yosuke can regain his footing. Countless hands, like appendage, seize his arm and legs, rendering him helpless. Calm down, don't be scared. As the hideous voice burbles in his ears, something cold and soft crawls atop him. Yusuke can't even scream. His terror is so great. It won't hurt. Don't be scared. It won't hurt. The tube-like appendages penetrate his ears and nose, wriggling deep into his skull. Right before the sensation drove him back, Yusuke lost consciousness. Thank you for taking the time to see us, Koji said, his mumble bow concealing his surprise at the doctor's yacht. Even without her light makeup, she wouldn't look a day over 30. She must be quite talented to be leading neurosurgeon at such a young age.
いいのよ。
Don't mention it.
あ
I
な
was
たたちみ
hoping
たいな
somebody
人が
like
来て
you
くれ
would
たの
come
は
along.
私としてもありがたいところだし。
Her friendly smile has known of the coldness one might expect from her sharp, refined
はじめ
beauty.
まして。
It's a pleasant
先
to
坂
meet
文
you.
則君の主治医の田んぼ
I'm
です。
Dr. Tanbo, Sakisaka Fuminori's attending physician.
文則の友人で殿浩二と言います。
I'm Fuminori's
彼
friend,
女は
Tono
筑波
Koji.
陽
This is Tsukuba Yo. Yo give a quick bow, her expression apologetic. When they arrive at the T University Medical Center and asked to see Fuminori's doctor, Koji and Yo had been prepared for rejection. They hadn't expected the ease with which their request was
先
granted.
坂君の件について話が聞きたいっていうことだけど、
You say you want to know
それ
what's
は
wrong with him.
私の方でも同じで
Well,
ね。
so do I.
は
I'm sorry.
彼、一昨日の診察に来てくれなかったのよ。
He
留
didn't
守電
come
に入れ
in
た電話
here
にも
for
返
his
事もな
checkup
い
2
し、
days ago. I tried calling his home, but there was no answer. 2 days ago, the same day Fuminori was searching the abandoned house, Koji frowns, wondering what was so important enough for him to blow off his appointment.
彼、学校ではどんな様子？
What is he like
ど
at
うも
school?
こうも
He is
もうめちゃくちゃです。
totally messed up. Seeing your shoulder jerk out of the corner of his eye, Koji regret not choosing his word more
事故
carefully.
の前とまるで人が違ったみたいに見えます。
Since the accident, he's been like a completely different person.
僕たちもいろいろと
Have no idea what to do. So we thought that
どうしてい
talking
いか
to
わ
you
からな
might
くて。
help.
あなたたちも医大生？
Are you a medical student too? She asked out of nowhere. Well, yes.
彼のカルテ見てみたいと思
Would you
う。
like to see his chart?
見せてくれるんですか？そ
You
んな
will
もの
really show it to us. Regard
そう思った人がいるみたいなのよ。
someone wanted to
そ
see
れ
it,
も
and
病
without
院に
the
は無
hospital
断で、一
permission,
昨日の晩、この
his
病院に
file
誰
were
かが押し
stolen
入って
from
ね。
the archive 2
保管
nights ago.
本当ですか？
What? She stared hard at the astonished student, then shake her head with a tired
ま
smile.
あ、あなたたちは無関係そうね。
Well, it
ちょっと
doesn't
安
look
心
like
し
you
た
two are involved. That's a relief.
当たり前で
Of
す。
course we are.
でも
However,
犯人は咲坂君の容体に興味があるか、
the
それ
culprit と
も
must have had
彼
an
の治療
interest
記
in
録を
his
消したかった
condition
のか。
or wanted to erase
い
his
ずれにせ
record.
よ彼に関わりのある人間としか思えない。
Either way, I can only assume that it was someone close to him.
は
I see. An ominous thought flashes through Koji's mind. It couldn't have been Fuminori himself, could it? Koji looked at Dr. Tanbo and found her staring right back at him. Her expression grave. He realized that she must be harboring the same suspicion.
あなたには他に心当たりはない？
What
咲
do you
坂君
think?
の知り合いで
Do you have
そういう
any
ことをやりかねない
idea
よ
who
うな
might
人。
have done it? Perhaps Dr. Tanbo didn't have anyone in mind when she asked, but Koji's thoughts immediately fly to that eerie house to which Fuminori led him.
知り合いだか何なの
I
か
don't really know
自分
what
にも
their
よくわからないんで
relationship
すが
is, but there's someone
多
called
分医
Ogai,
者か医学関
probably
係
a
の人で
doctor or a...
オーガイっていう
Koji stopped speaking as he see the dramatic change that has come across Dr. Tanbo's expression.
ご存知なんですか
You know Dr.
咲
Ogai?
坂君がその男といつどうやって知り合ったのかわかる？
Do you know when and where Fuminori met that man?
いえ
No,
こ
that's
っちが知りたいぐらいで
what
す
I would like to know. Just
先生
who is this
一体
Ogai?
何者なんですかあのオーガイっていう人は
After remaining silent for some time, Dr. Tanbo loses a heavily sight.
いいわ。
Alright.
その気になれば簡単に調べがつくことだし。
It's not like you couldn't
大
find
貝正彦はうちの大
find
学にい
out
た教
on
授
your
よ。
own. Ogai Masahiko was a doctor teaching at this
いろいろと
hospital.
不祥事があって半年以上前に免職になったけど、
He was dismissed over 6 months ago. However, following certain
不
incident,
祥事って
what
一体
incident?
何を
What did he do?
そこから先は部外者に話せることじゃないわ。
I can't say anymore. And
Saksaka
anyway,
君には
it
何
has
の関
nothing
係
to
も
do
ない
with
こ
your
とよ。
friend. Koji has no argument with which to answer Dr. Tanbo's flat rejection. However, he can't shake the feeling that this Ogai person is the key to unraveling the mystery surrounding Fuminori.
先生
Doctor, he
もしか
says,
したら咲坂文則は刑事事件に
making
関わ
up
っているかもしれないん
Fuminori
です
might be involved in a crime. At the sudden declaration, both Yo and Dr. Tanbo raised their
どういう
eyebrows.
こと？
What do you mean?
彼を訪ねていったっきり行方不明になってしまった人間がいます。もちろん
A
文則は否定していますが
A friend of ours went missing after going to see him. Fuminori denies any involvement, of course.
それって
You mean
オ
Omi?
ミちゃんのこと？
Koji is unable to bear the shock in Yo's face.
すまん
Voice.
つくば
Sorry, Sukuba.
君には
I
言えなかっ
couldn't
た
tell you. Dr. Tanbo is frowning. Her expression even more serious than
そ
before.
のオーガイという人物が今文則の
Right
関心
now,
の
this
焦点になって
Ogai
いる
seems
ら
to
しい
be
ん
the
です
center of Fuminori's
彼が何
attention.
者で文則が彼の何について探っているのかそれが分かれば
If
少
we
しは
know
事情が
who
見えて
he
くるかもしれ
is
ません
and what Fuminori is looking for, we might start to see the
お
whole
願いです先
picture.
生教えてくださいこの病院で
Please
一体
tell
何があったん
us,
ですか
doctor, just what happened at this hospital. Dr. Tanbo hesitated for some time, refusing to make eye contact, but he finally shook
ご
her
めん
head.
なさい。こればかりは。
I'm sorry. This
私
is
の
not
一
a
度で話せる
decision
こと
I
も
can make on my
先生。
own. Doctor,
でも少しだけ待って。私は私なりにいろいろと調べてみる。
give me some time.
放
I'll
って
do
お
my
ける
own
状況じゃないのはよ
investigating
く理解
now
でき
that
た。
I know how far this has
お願
gone.
いします
Please. Koji is out of position. All that's left is to trust this young doctor. It's frustrating, but a friend rights only go so far.
お互い携帯の番号を交換しておきましょう。
Let's
何か
change
分かったら連絡するわ
let's。exchange cell phone
あなたたち
number.
も何か
I'll
新
call
しい
you
動
if
き
I
があっ
learn
たら
anything.
すぐに
And
私に教
call
え
you
て。
and you call me the moment anything's changed.
え
Alright.
えわかりました
Apa nih? Kok hitam? Perlu ku klik kah? Oh, perlu diklik. bingung kalau main visual novel ini. Mungkin aku kurang karena kurang experience main visual novel mungkin ya. Harusnya game-game kayak gini awalnya itu langsung di autoin aja sih menurutku sih. Tapi nggak tahu nanti ya dia aturnya gimana. Itu urusan mereka lah ya. What happened to me? Yosuke's awareness returns slowly, as though rising from a bog. He's cold. No, hot. Something itch, like the pit tongue and cold slug crawling over his skin. Yosuke yang samperin tadi kan, yang di dokter. What the hell is going on? Timidly he opened his eyes. What? It's everywhere. The thing that attacked him in the living room. It's everywhere. The terror shattered Yosuke's sanity. It threw off the thing lying atop him, but his wild flailing sent him crashing to the floor. But is it really the floor? The long, wriggling fiber of what should be the carpet are winding themselves around his finger. The floor is made of worm. He steered slim of the worm and tried to stand but lose his balance. Sabar. Ini kalau aku ini nggak ada save-nya. Oh ada save. Apa kita akhiri sampai sini ya? Udah berapa lama awas? Oke lah, 2 jam 44 menit. Oke, kita bakalan sampai sini aja deh. Kita save buat nanti Jumat. Kalau nanti kan malam Jumat aku pengen main game horror ini sih kayaknya. Kok udahan? Iya dong. Aku pengen live stream ini nanti malam buat horror night stream. Kayaknya ini nggak horror banget, tapi aku penasaran dengan game. Karena ini game terlihatnya cukup unik. Nama gamenya ini Body Simulator 1984. Terlihat cukup unik. So ya, kita bakal sebut nama. Ada Takoya, ada Regas, ada Fan, ada Vigo, ada Kasur, terus ada Kaime, ada Katana, ada Access B, ada Koheri, ada Kucing Biru, ada Ellen. Terus ada siapa lagi? Ada Jay, ya gak sih? Terus ada siapa lagi ya? Kapal sih aku sih. Yaudahlah ya. Intinya itu, terima banget yang udah mampir dan menemani. So far gamenya lumayan menarik sih menurutku. Aku penasaran nanti jadinya gimana. Tapi harusnya si predikku tuh nanti si saya ini bakal ngefix si tokoh utama yang sakit ini. Nah, abis di fix ya mau nggak mau bisa, atau mungkin dia mesti sacrifice dirinya sendiri. So ya, kita lihat aja nanti pas hari Jumat endingnya bakal gimana. Thank you banget yang udah mampir. Segini aja buat stream kali ini, and see you guys in the next stream. Bye bye.